Welcome into the Monday after Bracket Sunday. I'm sure there are some people in this market that are really happy today. I'm sure of that, and they should be. Their team somehow, some way got in. There are those of you that are lamenting today. Whether you're an Ole Miss fan or you're a Memphis fan, we feel your pain. For the Tigers, comes down to free throw shooting. The Tigers were free throw shots away from making the NCAA. I'll make my case this way. The Tigers end up the season 16-8. In the 8 losses that the Tigers suffered, in those 8 losses, they missed 66 free throws. They were 84 for 150. Or 56% from the free throw line. The one game that would have made the magic difference, whether it was on Saturday or whether it was the Sunday before in Houston, the Tigers in those 2 games missed 22 free throws. 10 the first time, 12 the second time. Shooting in the low 50s both times. You beat Houston one time like Wichita State did, you would be in the NCAA tournament. There may be some that go, Wichita State, how did they get into this tournament? Other than Houston, they didn't beat anybody. And if you look at their net, they're at 72. Ole Miss's net is right behind Memphis at 54. How did Ole Miss, with 3 quad 1 wins, Memphis had none, so Memphis has no argument. But how did Ole Miss, with 3 quad 1 wins, get left out for a Wichita State team that is really a bad team? Not a bad team. It is not a tournament team, in my estimation, anyway. How did they do that? Simple. They beat Mississippi. They beat Ole Miss. That's how Wichita State gets in. They beat Houston, and the other quad 1 was at the Pavilion. That is how they end up getting into the tournament, despite the fact they almost lost to a terrible USF team and did get trounced. Not trounced. They got beaten by a Cincinnati team that was minus its best player in the second half. Crazy, crazy things. So, again, that drought for the Tigers is now 7 years old. To the NIT they go, where they won the title in 2002. Brett, that catapulted John Calipari's team into at least starting to become relevant. Maybe that will happen for Penny next year. We'll see if they can make a little run here. How are you this afternoon?
I'm well, and you make a good case. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I hardly can argue with it. But Wichita State, that team Ole Miss lost to at the Pavilion on the first Saturday of the new year. In fact, it was the day of the Ole Miss-Indiana Outback Bowl. That game was right after. And they lost to, I think, utterly bad. Not even average, not ho-hum, not somewhat decent, not so a bad Wichita State team at home. And you add that with a really bad loss on the road at Vanderbilt, 2 losses to Georgia, and a home loss to Mississippi State.
Yep.
Ole Miss is exactly where they earned, just like Memphis. You earn all this. And a great case in point has been made all year. And I know we do it, and we rely on metrics and numbers and analysis and data and try to bring in a potpourri of guests. But I'm hearing all this stuff about, the Tigers were this at Ken Palm and Ole Miss was this at Ken Palm. I don't know Mr. Palm whatsoever. I like his stuff. I like how diligent and hard he works. I like the information he pours out. You can feel his love of college basketball. He ain't in the committee room. What Ken Palm thinks don't make a hill of beans.
No, that's true. And frankly, his metric has been de-emphasized by the committee. So the fact that Memphis, I believe, is 38 in that Ken Palm doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
might as well be 138.
Yeah. And some of this, the system is gamed. And I ask this, and this might be a question for 4 o'clock for David Cobb or 5 o'clock for Blake Lovell, who are our 2 guests this afternoon. If Memphis had, like other schools, said, you know what, we're not going to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's too dangerous for COVID. We're just going to get 3 cupcakes. If Memphis had beaten 3 more cupcakes, I mean, you look at Wichita State. Now, they do get the quad 1 wins, the 2 quad 1 wins. But if they had played, say, anywhere from 100 to 150.
UT Martin.
No, look, maybe even a little bit better than that. Look, I don't want to go beyond 150 in the net. Somewhere between 100 and 150 in the net. And they win those 3 games, which they most likely would have. And, let's face it, there's no DeAndre Williams at that point. But if they win those games, don't you think they're in? They would have won 19 games.
I don't know. Just guessing. I don't think so, Dave, because you had to beat somebody. You had to beat somebody with some up. Now, I say you have to beat somebody, and then I'm going to bring up the notable 2 losses. I think somewhere out there, for sure, either the last 2 games against Houston. That's almost undeniable. The committee and all the smart people around college basketball, as much said, either one of those, again, for Ole Miss. They knew on Friday night, beat LSU, and you are in. It doesn't matter what happens on Saturday. They couldn't do it. The Tigers couldn't pull out either of those games against a Houston team that's the better seed of any of these run of Kelvin Sampson teams, but I don't think they're the best team of the Kelvin Sampson teams. But you take the 2 losses in South Dakota, and the loss to Virginia Common was by 11, and I don't know that the Tigers ever led. If they did, it was very early, down as many as 16 in the second half, and thoroughly handled by Common. So you lose those 2 in South Dakota. You lose to Auburn. You lose the 2 to Tulsa. You lose the 2 to Houston. You change any one of those, and you're probably in. For Ole Miss, for last Friday night, you change the one at Vandy. Maybe even just that one at Vandy might have done it. College basketball coaches, they know this, but they need to put on notice. Opening night, you better get ready because that can torpedo Selection Sunday.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here and trying to think about my premise considering those early games. Look at Drake's schedule. I mean, I'm trying to find the 1 quad 1 win that Drake has. But they got beat by 30 at home to Loyola. They played Loyola twice at home and lost both games, and then lost to him in the final. It's poetic justice in my mind because the 2 teams that I don't think deserve to be in the tournament are Drake and Wichita State, and they're playing each other. So
yeah, Dave, it's some bad teams in this tournament. Not kind of sketchy, not a little bit deficient. There are some bad teams. This was the year to make the NCAA tournament. Really, if you didn't make it this year, if we get college football back on its its moorings, if we get back to normal in college basketball, it's going to be a lot tougher going forward. In Kermit Davis, that a lot of our conversation so far in this first 9 minutes has centered around Ole Miss and Memphis, and both of those coaches have just finished year 3. Well, Kermit Davis has been to one tournament, win his first year, and got utterly smashed by Oklahoma, but he's been. Penny Hardaway hadn't. Look at second-year coaches, not necessarily in the neighborhood with Nate Oates, but in a league we talk a lot about. But then Arkansas and Eric Musselman in a second year, and not just squeezing into the tournament, but a preferred seed, lusty seed.
His best seed since 1992. And I know that because he tweeted it out, so he's very proud of that. But, by the way, I think it's only fair to say that both Kermit and Penny are in their 3rd year. But Kermit only missed the tournament 1 time this year. Penny's only missed the tournament now twice because he didn't make it.
He wasn't going last year, you know that.
Well, if they'd won the tournament.
If I line up all the Powerball figures, I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
I think the odds would have been a lot better for them to win the tournament last year than to win the Powerball. Not scantily. I think Memphis could have made a little bit of a run last year.
Scantily. I wasn't talking about being nude. You went scantily. Scantily is partially nude. Scantily is barely.
The best team in the league last year was Houston, and they split with Houston last year.
They were 6 seed. Dave, come on now.
On a neutral, they had a chance. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, hey, we call it a bid then. Hang a banner. Call it a bid then, if you'd like, if that makes you feel better.
I did see that Ole Miss, because they're one of the 4 replacements, was going to put up a banner with R4.
Well, that's embarrassing.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Real quick, by the way, Drake and Loyal actually split. Drake won the second game.
Yeah, they played back-to-back nights.
Yes.
Drake won the second game?
Yes,
after losing the third? Okay, so that's their quad 1 win. That's their quad 1 win. And Loyola beat them by 30 and then turned around and lost at that place. That's right. That was an overtime game. Now I remember
it's
that.
coming to me now. I remember now.
I do.
The Tigers won the tournament last year. Let's just claim that.
No.
They won the NCAA tournament.
I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying to you, I think it's only fair to say last year is incomplete. And I think
you do.
I think that's the same for Kermit Davis as I say for Penny Hardaway.
There's no prayer Ole Miss was going to the tournament last year.
Well, I'm not going to judge it either way, but I would say to you, in the opportunities that Kermit Davis had, he's 1 for 2. In the opportunities that Penny Hardaway had, he's 0 for 2. I think Penny probably had a better chance than Kermit Davis last year to win the tournament.
So Eric Musselman is 1 for 1 in your reasoning.
Yeah, Eric Musselman is definitely 1 for 1. And as you just said, he's not just there. He's a 3 seed.
Next excuse, because that was asinine.
Well, I thank you for really being pleasant about that, Brett, because I think that was jerky of you to say.
Sorry, because, Dave, you have no idea what was going to happen to a team that was a 6 seed.
And neither do you.
I saw the whole year they were a 6 seed.
Okay. They split with the team that was the favorite. They
were
won
a 3 seed this year and didn't win it.
No, they got beaten because they missed free throws. They played.
They were going to win it last year.
They played with a team.
It's asinine.
They played with a team that absolutely is a 2 seed in the tournament, and they could have won either game if they hit free throws. They split with that same team, little different personnel, not much. They split with that, and I think Memphis is a better team. Oh, hang a banner. So if we don't see it your way, you go to the extreme.
No,
I get it.
Call it a win.
I get
Call it a win.
No, I'm not calling it a win. What I'm calling it is no opportunity. That's the fair thing to do.
Oh, I know you're Mr. Fair too. So,
I try to be. I try to be. Oh,
I
know. But you're just on the money all the time.
Yeah, and I'm not fair. When you're fair, it means I'm not.
I think in this case that is true.
Okay.
All right. Let's just agree to disagree.
No, I'm not going to agree to disagree. I'm going to move on.
Okay. If that makes you feel better, we'll do it. Adjust.
I feel a lot better.
All right. Good.
And I'm not sitting here making excuses for my team.
No, I'm not making any excuses. I told you what happened. Free throws are the difference in that, and we'll never know about last year because they didn't play. And the team that was the favorite, they split with. That's fact. I don't know what else I can say to you. In the meantime, I know we'll go over brackets later, but I don't know that we can argue with any of the top 4 seeds. Maybe you can. You agree with them or not?
The top 4 seeds for this year's tournament?
Yes.
Yes, I agree with them.
Clearly, Gonzaga was number 1, and they have, in my opinion, the easiest of the 4 brackets. I think the hardest bracket was the Michigan bracket, and I think
because of the injury.
The injury, and that's tough. And they got Michigan as the 1. They got Alabama as the 2, hot team now. They got Texas, another hot team, as the 3.
You got LSU as an 8.
And LSU is an 8, right, exactly.
You got UConn as a 7. UConn looks so smart getting out of that half-strum AAC with that horrible leadership.
Yeah. He certainly took the easy way out yesterday. He has his State of the Union address after everybody except 2 teams have left.
Yeah, he knew the Memphis media had left, and he had his press availability, and it was as gutless as anything he's pulled over the last 3 weeks.
I'll give a lot of credit to Danielle Lerner, who is the Daily Memphian Grizzlies beat writer, Tiger beat writer, excuse me, because she asked him the tough question about that. And he basically hemmed and hawed and said, well, there was no way for him to win. He had some crazy analogy about being a donkey with arrows being fired at him, or some crazy notion like that. And
I don't get it. I don't get him the last 3 weeks.
I
What
don't
about
either.
Penny Hardaway today saying the season and the NIT bid is bittersweet? What is sweet about it?
It's there's nothing exactly sweet about it.
He said it was.
It's bitter, but the sweet thing, I guess, would be that you're still playing postseason play. And again, I'll go back to 2002. Obviously, you would much rather be in the NCAA tournament. No one is saying that isn't the case, but at least you're still another. You're one of 16 other teams that will play some postseason. It certainly is not an important tournament like the NCAA, but I'll go back to 2002, and when Memphis won that game, and John Calipari called it a national championship, it did start to build the foundation of his program, which, several years later.
How many of those players that were on those good teams were really on that team?
I don't know if any were on that team, but it gave you some notoriety to bring in other people. None of the Laurenburg guys were on that team. They came later. DeJuan Wagner was on that team that won the national title. Won the NIT. I shouldn't say national title.
I think hanging an NIT banner is a waste of cloth.
Well, it certainly is not an NCAA.
When was we say it used to be the most important tournament? When was that? What was the last year the NIT winning it really superseded being the NCAA tournament champion?
I would say 1970, 1969, 1971, somewhere.
So you just dismiss Glory Road and UTEP. You think whoever won the NIT that year was better than that? Because that was in 67. You just dismiss Walt Hazzard and UCLA and John Wooden winning their first in 64. You just dismiss your childhood moments you said a few weeks ago was Loyola winning it in 63.
I would say they were of equal importance at that time. I'm not dismissing anybody's importance. I'm saying to you, what was the year that SIU and Frazier won? Was that 67? That was still pretty big then. There was a year that Marquette chose to go to the NIT over the NCAA.
Early 70s.
Okay. So I'm saying to you that it was early 70s where it became very, very apparent that the top tournament, the one of relevance, became the NCAA. There was a period of overlap because in the 50s, the NIT was the tournament. But there was a period of overlap, and frankly, I'd have to look at everything because I didn't know we were going here. But there was a period of time.
College basketball. We talked the history.
There was a period of time when they were both important and relevant, and the NIT is no longer that. I mean, that's for a long time.
Hadn't been in so long. It really, I think it's fruitless to talk about. There's always one team that runs your bracket every year, and that's why betting the tournament at FanDuel Sportsbook, America #1 sportsbook, is so much fun. Because at FanDuel, your first bet is risk-free. That team's not going to ruin your bracket. New users get up to $1,000 in site credit back if your first bet doesn't win. With games night and day, an easy-to-use app, multiple deposits, and fast withdrawals, your next chance to win big with March Madness is at FanDuel. It's only minutes away, and if that's not enough, FanDuel wants to make you a millionaire. They're giving $1 million to one lucky bettor. New and existing users get an additional shot at the payout every day you bet the tournament. I can't imagine going through March Madness without your FanDuel app at the ready. So if you want a shot at becoming a millionaire or even a thousandaire, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Just use promo code CASH so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee, no purchase necessary. Restrictions apply. For a $1 million drawing risk-free offer offer for first online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires 14 days after receipt. Terms do apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. For problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis. They can hang a banner there every day. We're the number one Lexus dealership in town, no doubt about it, at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2021 models and always special lease options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2021 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. At 2600 Ridgeway, call them 901-362-8833 and experience March Madness at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, that top story is tough day for Memphis basketball yesterday. We mentioned the Tigers and the missed free throws. And the saddest part about that is this was not Musa Cisse missing free throws. This was not Malcolm Dandridge, the big guys, who are both shooting in the 30 percentile. This was Boogie. This was Lester. This was Landers, Ellis, Quinones, and Nolly, all missing critical free throws, or the Tigers would be in the tournament at the same time. The Grizzlies had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter at Oak City last night, and that one was blown, and the Grizzlies are back to 500.
My top story of the day, the 68-team bracket is in front of everybody. Everybody's printed them out today. Everybody had a good, fun day at the PDF with the printable brackets. They're in front of us. And if you didn't make it this year, you're not ever going to make it. Or you're going to feel like you're never going to make it, because there was a place for anybody with a pulse. You had since November through yesterday to show your stuff. And if you got left out, I don't think there's a single legit snub, not one. And Dick Vitale, of course he had to go on. He even chuckled at himself before he started it. It's time for me to go on my little guy speech. And kind of laughed at himself and went on the Belmont speech. I'll bet you he couldn't name a player on the Belmont roster.
And Belmont got snubbed by the NIT as well.
They didn't beat anybody. They had a bunch of wins against nobody.
Not top story of the day.
Those are, again, the Shelby County numbers with COVID. 131 new today, 1 death. But we have reached the 213,000 vaccinated number. We've actually had over 1 million tests now in Shelby County. And good news in Mississippi, they are now going to be open to vaccines for all ages of adults. I guess that is 18 and over. It was at 50. They were the first to go to 50. Some of this may be that not everybody who's eligible is taking the vaccine. But now, starting, I think, tomorrow, all adults are eligible and can go and get a vaccine. We had, as late as 2 o'clock today, under 10,000 new cases in America, 7 1/3 million active, so that's way down, and 22 million have recovered. In the world today, 23.6 active cases and 97 million recovered. So slowly but surely the vaccines and distancing and masks and everything else are paving the way.
My not top story, Tigers sadly not in the big dance again for a reason. The plague of the season. This time it was free throws. A lot of times it's been turnovers. And this summer, in one-on-one workouts, 3-on-3 workouts, however they do it when they break it down just with a few guys at a time, they need serious, fundamental boot camp summertime training. Ball handling, passing drills, back to the basics. Fundamentally, this has been a poor team all year. It kept a lot of bad teams in games, and it kept a lot of big wins away from the left side of the ledger for the Tigers. They do play hard. That's almost the newest mantra, like Josh is a good guy, that the Tigers play hard. They do. They should do that. That would be a really sad indictment on Penny Hardaway if his team didn't play hard, but it's a fundamentally poor team. It has been 2 bad losses to Tulsa, 2 heartbreakers to Houston, and that was the season.
And those are your top and your not top stories. Medals come your way in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio. We are Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World.
The year is 2019, and someone is getting up to use the bathroom at the stadium.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Oh, sorry. Excuse me? You mind if I just squeeze by here?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World.
Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Squeaky doors, clogged sinks, finicky engines. When things break around the house, you take care of it. However, when something's off in the bedroom, you just try not to think about it. Come on, man. What are you waiting for? Take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/bighead now. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping, and the whole process is straightforward and discreet. Getting started, it's so simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/bighead and complete an online visit. Take care of your ED without leaving your home. Complete an online visit today to connect with a healthcare professional and take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/bighead now, and you'll get $15 off your first month. It's really time to take care of your ED. And remember, get started today, and you'll save $15 on your first order of ED treatment. Go to GetRoman.com/bighead.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stacks. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Voloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Boy, it's 79 degrees today, but it's going to get a little bit cooler. We got some rain coming in the next couple of days. That doesn't mean you shouldn't head to Family Leisure as soon as possible, because they still have the factory direct pool and patio sale with all that 2021 inventory now in the house. And available. Pool season legitimately right around the corner. Get ready, beat the rush. You can lock in and get priority on installation. Then there's spas. Those are also in stock and ready for installation. Complete your backyard with a state-of-the-art set of patio furniture. Nothing makes you feel like sitting around your own backyard more than something like state-of-the-art comfortable patio furniture. And there's special financing available. All you've got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. See our good friends at Family Leisure, where family and fun all come together. Medals. I'm going to give a bronze medal to Lee Westwood, the wonderful European golfer, 47 years of age. And he's so close. In the last 2 weeks, he has finished second at 47 on incredibly difficult golf courses. Lee Westwood has lost first to Bryson DeChambeau, yesterday to Justin Thomas. How about that? 2 seconds in 2 weeks at the age of 47. I'm going to give a silver medal to Justin Thomas, and maybe he deserves even better. He has now won 14 times on the PGA Tour. He's done that before the age of 28. The only guys that I know that were able to pull that off were Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and Johnny Miller. And this Justin Thomas has pulled that off with yesterday's win at the Players. I'll also give a silver medal to Alabama and Illinois. They have gotten hot at the right time. Wouldn't be surprised if either one of those won the national championship. And I'm going to give a shared gold medal to 2 former Tiger coaches, both of which I have a great deal of affection for. Josh Pastner, think about that. Josh Pastner wins the ACC Tournament Championship with a shield on, no less, thanking everybody, including Seth Greenberg and the announcers of the ACC Tournament. He can still be a little goofy at times, but he's really and truly a great fella. As Brett mentioned a little bit earlier, Josh is a nice guy. He has done things behind the scenes that he doesn't want any recognition for, so I'm not going to repeat him, but I'll just tell you, he's an outstanding human being, and he's turned out to be a pretty darn good coach. To think of all the coaches that he beat this year, including Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, John Calipari, Leonard Hamilton. Unbelievable coaching names. Josh Pastner got the better of them this year. His reward, I don't quite understand his 9 seed, but he got a 9 seed, and he's got to play Loyola, and then if he wins that, Illinois, they're not very nice to Josh Pastner. But
where should a 17 and 18 be seeded?
17 and 8 with the wins. How many top 25 wins did they have? I thought he'd be a 7 seed. That's what I thought he would get. He's won the championship of the ACC. Now, he did get one gifted forfeit, but he did beat some pretty good teams, including Leonard Hamilton's Florida State team, to win the title. I thought he was going to get a 7.
Well, in that bracket, Clemson's the 7, and I don't know how many times they played, but I watched them once, and Georgia Tech just gave the game away to Clemson late in that one.
And, that may be why they switched positions in that particular setup. But, man, he didn't get any breaks. A 9 seed to take on Loyola, to be followed, if you were to win that game, to be followed by Illinois. Good luck on that one. My final gold medal to Johnny Jones, Texas Southern, former Tiger coach, North Texas coach, LSU coach, another really good guy. And I'm happy for him to get back to the dance with that other team in Houston, Texas.
And he's got a winnable game as part of the first 4 when they play Mount St. Mary's.
Maybe. I'm pulling for him. Those are my positive medals.
My first bronze, I have 2. My first, I guess, goes to Wichita State for squeezing in that big win first weekend of the year at Ole Miss. I guess that carried them on. I don't think they deserved it. The metrics said that they didn't, but they got in, and in effect, tantamount to justifying what Mike Oresco did in gaming the system after saying he wouldn't game the system. Football bronze, the football bronze to a team that wears gold. The Packers, way to go, rewarded a running back, paid off Aaron Jones. He got paid, and he will be critical to another big year for Aaron Rodgers. Silver medal, 2 of them. I love the short par 4s that they offered up over the weekend at Ponte Vedra. Short par 4s are a lot more fun than long par 3s. Love the setup at Sawgrass. Silver medal goes to the current 2 NBA number 1 seeds, Philadelphia in the East and Utah in the West. Nobody had that. 2 months to go. Hard part still ahead of them, and especially for Philadelphia with the Joel Embiid injury. Sadly, he always seems to be hurt. He can't help it, but he always gets hurt. And we'll see if they can win it in 2 months as they're leading right now. But nobody had those two in the preseason. 3 goals. First one to Justin Thomas for rounding into form. And you know he had to love looking at that leaderboard and seeing somebody that loves coming in second in front of him, Lee Westwood. He knew he could take care of him. He just had to handle Bryson DeChambeau, and he would get there, and he did his 14th career win. Gold goes to Drew Brees with those gold helmets on in New Orleans. He turned the Aints into a great franchise. It had been a doormat franchise forever. He turned them into a champion, into a championship contender. And my final goal goes to Alabama. They take it all in football and in basketball. Nate Oates in his second year, like Eric Musselman, they both have programs that were really down as about any that we talk about, and now they're 2 and 3 seeds respectively. It can be done, and it can be done in a hurry, and they've done it.
They have definitely done it for sure. My rust goes to the Tiger free throw shooting. There's only one guy who's a fairly consistent free throw shooter. That is Landers Nolley, and I mentioned already in this program that he missed a critical free throw or two against Houston. If you're going to shoot 56%, you're going to lose games. And that's exactly what happened in the 8 losses, to miss 66, to miss 22 in the game or the games that would have counted. The 2 against the Cougars, 10 of 20 and 15 of 27. It's just too tough to take. And I don't understand how good shooters like Boogie, Lester, Landers, particularly Ellis and Quinones, shooting in the mid-60s when they can shoot lights out for the most part. I do not understand how you can be so poor at free throws. And I think we practice threes and dunks an awful lot, and we don't practice free throws enough, at least young guys on their own. If they took as much time to practice that as they do the other things, maybe they would be more adept. But free throw shooting at this level, at that percentage, that is just poor.
Dave, I swear, if I'm Penny Hardaway, if I'm that coaching staff, whoever can have access to them on those workout days, I don't know those moving parts of those rules. I don't know if the head coach really ever does, but whenever, whoever has control and is around that program, he's always around it. If I walk through this summer and I see anybody practicing a dang windmill dunk, you get your toes on that free throw line. And you be working on those. First of all, they have to be taught how to do it correctly and then repeat, muscle memory, and sit there and shoot them. And Moussa Cisse all summer needs to be working on footwork, on defensive drills, on moving backwards, on more than just stick backs around the rack. The whole team needs to be working on boot camp fundamentals all summer, and then when the whole team assembles for the fall, then get into the other stuff. My rust goes to Mike Oresco, a 3-week odyssey that has completely undercut all of his work as commissioner of the AAC. He waits until Sunday when most of the Memphis media had already left town to make himself available. Did you see him at all? Did he ever saunter through?
Well, they separated the media from the floor. So you never had a chance to see Mike Oresco. I saw him from my perch way above the court, and there was a media workroom, but we never had the ability to see him. And even his press conference, which I listened to on the way home in a car through Zoom, even that was held with Zoom. So you never had any access to Mike. And the interesting thing to me is that Mike is bailed out. He is bailed out by the selection committee because Mike's job is to try to get as many teams into the NCAA tournament for finances for his league as he can. His strategy was to forego any kind of competitive balance or integrity for that matter. And he thought the way that Wichita State was positioned or talked into that by the coaches at Wichita State and Houston, that where they were sitting, they could get 2 in. And even though Wichita State almost lost to USF and did lose to a Cincinnati team whose I think their net is in the 120s. They were without their best player for the second half of that game. Still lost, and he still got him in. So if you're Mike Oresco and you're talking to league presidents, you're going to go, look, I know we took some hits here, but we got to win. The NCAA tournament bailed him out.
So you're saying head coaches gave him input to kind of thread the needle for Wichita State?
I'm saying that he talked to those coaches, and those coaches, it's pretty right to the point that that Kelvin Sampson basically told the league, meaning Mike Oresco, when the Tigers were literally minutes from releasing that they had moved that USF game from a Wednesday to a Tuesday 2 weeks ago so that they could play a Thursday game and Houston, that Kelvin Sampson refused to play home and home. They were going to play Thursday, Houston at Houston, and Sunday, Houston in Memphis. And he said, no, tell them to play Wichita State because we've played more conference games than either of those two.
A rookie head coach at Wichita State gets that pass over Penny Hardaway, and he only has a job because he's standing there when they have to fire Greg Marshall. And that rookie head coach lost to Penny Hardaway by 20 points. Did any of those coaches see that?
Did Mike Oresco see that? Because you can't blame a coach for fighting to try to get the advantage for his team, but you can blame a commissioner who's supposed to make sure that there is competitive balance, fairness, and equality in his own league, and he chose to ignore that.
Do you know or not know if Laird Veach and David Rudd had a fit?
I do not know. I have not been able to talk to either of those guys. I don't think that the U of M was crazy about it. I don't even know if there was an option where you could have played Wichita State on Thursday, but that was nixed actually from what I'm told by the league because they didn't want Memphis to have to play four straight road games. But honestly, it would have benefited the resume, and it turns out to be a moot point because Wichita State got in. But Memphis's resume could have been boosted, or Wichita State's. If Memphis loses at Wichita State, it helps them. If Memphis obviously plays Wichita State and beats them again, they're in a better position. They just chose, because the coaches pushed them that way, and I guess they had the sense that there was enough done by Wichita State that they would get in. And obviously that worked.
Coaches or coach?
Well, I think it's Kelvin Sampson that basically pulled the trigger. But you can be sure Isaac Brown would much rather have played USF at home than Memphis. He was going to get a W.
So the two coaches, if it's plural, that had input with the commissioner, it definitely sounded like it was to redound to their benefit. The rest of the coaches had no say-so.
Let me put it to you to be totally accurate. Kelvin Sampson pulled the trigger. That I know. I don't know what Isaac Brown's total stance was.
So Wichita State and Drake in play-in game in Indianapolis in the first four, Old Missouri Valley game, and if Wichita State wins, that's $1.8 million for Wichita State. They pay it over about 6 years per win, and then there's a pool for league money, but just for school money, it's one. If they win against Drake, that's $1.8 million for them.
Not a bad paycheck.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Laird Veach and David Rudd should be raising all kind today.
They should be. I agree on that one. With that, we take our timeout. Back in just a minute. We'll put a wrap on this very first hour of Sports Time on Sports 56.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 98.5 FM, and 96.1 FM.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches: 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
You ever lie awake at night, can't sleep, not wanting to see what time it is because that's just going to keep you up? Tonight, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's all night. Unlike other sleep aids, our extended-release melatonin helps you fall asleep naturally and then slowly releases so you stay asleep longer through the night. It's non-habit-forming with no next-day grogginess. ZzzQuil Pure Z's all night, so you can fall asleep and stay asleep. Available at retailers near you.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
2021 is finally here. Might I suggest we start the wonderful new year with a makeover for your beautiful house. I'm Brian Elder. I'm a roofer. I fix roofs. Don't let them tell you that it has to be replaced when all it may need is some love. 867-0303. Let me love on your roof. I've made quite the reputation over the last decade as the guy to call after the insurance company denies the claim. Overturning a claim that has gone bad is an art form where you argue county code, manufacturer specs, and details of your policy that they have to abide by. So let me see it first. If I say it's a claim, it's a claim. 867-0303. Money is free at Brian Elder Roofing with 0% financing for half a decade. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you a quote right over the phone. 867-0303 or brianelderroofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Couple of news and notes here. Today, Archie Miller, the Indiana coach, fired, and some philanthropic boosters, I think that's how I read the description, are buying him out. $10 million for Archie Miller to go away. He was really good at Dayton. He has not figured it out at Indiana. They never went to the tournament under his watch. And I think, didn't Mike DeCourcy say he would be the 5th coach at Indiana in 15 years?
Yeah, it's been a downward spiral for sure since Kelvin Sampson, but you could argue since losing one of the all-timers in Bobby Knight. Yeah, they went to that Final Four with Mike Davis, but Mike Davis was no head coach. And you say Dayton, Davis feels like everybody gets it done at Dayton. Brian Gregory got it done at Dayton. Anthony Grant's getting it done at Dayton. Of course, Don Donoward got it done there forever. And there are other names I'm leaving out. That Dayton's one of those spots. Tulsa for a lot of years was like that. It's no longer like that under Frank Haith. The Murray State of football. A lot of good coaches came through Murray State in football.
And basketball.
Murray State basketball.
Basketball, too.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Murray State is another one. And they don't quite have the same success in terms of making deep runs in the NCAA.
Western Kentucky. A lot of people win at Western Kentucky.
Right, they do. And most of the time, coaches from those schools end up getting good jobs. It's a great stepping stone job. Opposite thing for Richard Pitino today, while his dad is celebrating, getting his Iona team into the NCAA tournament after 8 years at 141 wins. He was basically 18 games over 500 in 8 years in Minnesota. He appears to be out. He did take him to 2 NCAA tournaments, but they're saying he's a leading candidate to be the new head coach at New Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Norm Ellenberger, where have you been? In New Mexico.
Yeah.
But some rumors out there, and that's just what they are, rumors that Eric Musselman will be heavily courted by Minnesota. His dad is a small G guide up there with both the Timberwolves and his time with the Golden Gophers that ended. You remember well in the 70s, and I remember it also with Fred Taylor and Ohio State, and just one of the uglier incidents in the history of sport. And it really haunted Bill Musselman for a long time. I remember Bill Musselman being here for an NCAA tournament, I'm going to say in 2001 or so, with South Alabama. Had a South Alabama team that almost pulled the upset. Might have been 97. Anyway, it might have been 97 when Arizona won it. Almost pulled the upset against Arizona when Arizona was on their way to winning it all here in Memphis. And he really emoted about being back in the NCAA tournament and having a good team and how much he missed college and how it all ended with the Golden Gophers. I would be stunned if Arkansas wanted to, and they do, if they wanted to keep Eric Musselman, that they'd lose him to Minnesota.
I don't see why he would make that move unless it was incredibly financial, and I would have to think that the Razorbacks and their foundation or their philanthropic boosters, that they would find the cash to keep him there, don't you? I don't think
if they want to keep him, they're going to keep him.
And I would do that. I think he's a heck of a coach. We said that when he was hired.
And it's a pretty good first-round matchup with them against Colgate. And then if they win, they kind of have to win the Old Southwest Conference tournament to get to the Final Four. That's a little lofty for Arkansas in a Final Four, but they would have to beat Texas Tech. They'd have to eventually beat Baylor, so they'd run into two old Southwest Conference foes, and they'd run into two great coaches in Chris Beard and in Coach Drew at Baylor. And I think Drew at Baylor's name will be prominently mentioned at IU with his Hoosier State ties, both him coaching at Valpo, his dad coaching at Valpo, and his brother Bryce playing at Valpo. And his brother Bryce has Grand Canyon in the NCAA tournament.
He's been at Baylor so long now, and he's had so much success, and he's got a pipeline going in there. I just can't see him leaving.
I don't either. I don't either, Dave. He's established himself as Mr. Big at Baylor. And, Dave, how would you like to have been some of the ones here when Scott Drew was interested? He was really close to taking the Memphis job, and he was the last piece standing in the way of a young, precocious assistant coach getting it in Josh Pashner, and people bulldoze Scott Drew with innuendo. I've heard, maybe, some have said, and they linked him to a lot of stuff that has never panned out. And through all the investigations that Baylor has been through, if that guy had ever not have put enough postage on a stamp, they would have found it.
Well, that was definitely what he was getting killed with here. The innuendo that if you hired him, you would get in trouble. And there were enough people that got the athletic director's attention, and he got.
Look what could have been avoided in Tiger basketball history with not listening to some of those prominent, loud, and it was just scurrilous accusations against Scott Drew.
Well, there was also at that point the opportunity to hire Leonard Hamilton. Hamilton was really interested in this job, and from everything I've heard over the years, that was mishandled on the financial end. That had they given the price right, Leonard Hamilton was ready to come, but the athletic director kind of lowballed him, thinking he would take it, and he didn't, and he was insulted by the offer, and then soured on it. And then, as you just mentioned, Scott Drew. So you're looking at two guys who are in this tournament with great histories and great seating, and they could have been, because they had interest in the job in Memphis at the time when John Calipari was leaving, and for whatever reason, that was not ever executed. And frankly, because of things not working out, the folks that were influential with the AD around here at that time said, look, we want somebody, since this hasn't worked out yet, we want somebody from that staff that was so good and got us into the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 and Final Four. We want that run to continue. And the one guy that RC was good with was Josh, and so he took a chance on Josh, and then now we know the way it all worked out. But you really could have had Scott Drew or Leonard Hamilton at that particular time. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Dave, I'm going to go in reverse order. Usually when I tell you about the commissary, I mentioned the desserts last. I'm going to go with the way the French do it. When they eat dessert first, I'm not suggesting that you start with the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had, but don't forget about it. And don't forget about the terrific banana pudding. Of course, you're not going to do that. You're going to start with ribs, Memphis-style barbecue and the Memphis-style ribs. Delicious and authentic. And the reason why it's delicious and authentic and it's Memphis-style is because it's slow cooked. Either place, the new Collierville Commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. You can start that barbecue feast with the great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales. And on a day like this, you sure can get outside at Houston, Levy, and Poplar and enjoy this sunshine and this fresh air with all that great food. Dig into the ribs or the shoulder, get it chopped or pulled. Don't forget about the Boss Man salad, the chicken plate, or the barbecue shrimp, and the tamales dressed with chili, cheese, and fresh onions. I mentioned the dessert first. I'm going to mention it last, too. And the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com. I can't imagine March without a couple of stops at both places. The Germantown Commissary in Germantown, the original, or the new Collierville Commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar. Walker Taylor's done it the right way, and he'll be celebrating all the basketball on TV. Everybody can enjoy it. Come to either place or order online at commissarybarbecue.com.
Finally, something we agree on, although I would probably start with the nachos. That's an hour in the books. When we come back, our friend from CBSSportsline.com, David Cobb, will join us on the NCAA basketball tournament. This is Sports Time on Sports 56.
Hey, I heard that you just got a new car.
Yes, I sure did, and I could not believe how simple it was.
Really? Tell me what happened.
I bought my car at Cars Inc. They are family owned, and the choices of cars were the best I've ever seen. They even said they could price match with anyone and help me with whatever financing I needed.
Wow, it does sound like they know what they are doing.
Their family has been in the car business for over 30 years, and they're excited about being in Memphis.
Where are they?
5095 Cummington Way, and their phone number is 901-623-7180.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. You've heard me talk about how we offer the best products, the best warranties, and the best services for years. Now let's talk about pricing. Pricing should never be the only reason you hire a contractor, but in today's world, pricing is always a consideration. So we suggest you get 2 or 3 estimates for your roof replacement from a reputable, licensed, and insured company, and then give us a call. If we can't beat your best price for a comparable roof system by more than $100, we'll give you $100. It's that simple. We are so sure we can offer you the best price, beating all other qualified companies. We will hand you $100 if we can't, and thank you for the opportunity. So give us a call. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Make $100? Fiveash Roof Services, a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Fiveash Roof Services, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
February has been extended through March 31st. Hi, I'm John Conway with Conway Services. Are you considering replacing your heating and air conditioning system this spring? Conway Services and Carrier have teamed up to make now the perfect time. March is one of our slowest months of the year. Our warehouse is full and our crews are slowed. So to spark business during these slow winter months, Conway Services is giving away Carrier 80% gas furnaces absolutely free with the purchase of a standard Carrier air conditioning system. That's right, purchase a Carrier air conditioning system before March 31st and get the gas furnace absolutely free. If that's not enough, we'll include an April air cleaner, a 10-year parts warranty, and a free Nest thermostat, plus 12 months interest free. See why I still call it February through March 31st? And you know with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old heating and air conditioning system, we'll come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
I almost never go to Central Barbecue without running into somebody I know.
That could be because you only eat at Central Barbecue.
It's because Central Barbecue is where Memphians go to get barbecue and has consistently been voted the most popular barbecue restaurant among locals.
Actually, that's really saying something.
I know. Memphis is the nation's capital of barbecue. With all the choices, people who live here go to Central Barbecue.
They do get their share of tourists.
Sure, because Central Barbecue has been mentioned on TV and in tons of national publications. You know why?
Because of the great food?
Because those TV shows and magazines look for the place where the locals go, and that, my friend, is Central Barbecue.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in hour number 2 on the Monday after the brackets have come out. Unfortunately, Memphis not on the bracket again. That's 7 years in a row. They were a 1 seed in the NIT. Maybe they can make something happen like they did in 2002. But when you don't hit free throws, that is going to be the case. I don't think many people are going to argue with the top seeds in this. And we love chatting with our friend from CBSSportsline.com. And since I do not have a phone screen here, I am assuming he is there and good.
And he is.
And let's bring in our friend, David Cobb.
Hey, David.
So did the committee get it right?
Yeah, for the most part. I think they did. I mean, you can debate, whether Drake should have been whatever seed they were, and Wichita State, should they have been in or out. Look, let's not, just anger ourselves over the weeds here, because the fact is we have a bracket and we've got an NCAA tournament that's coming, and, hopefully it's going to be something pretty normal, despite the fact that it's all been being played in Indianapolis, and obviously that's abnormal. But I'm just excited that we've got this bracket. I've already got one filled out. It should be on our expert next page soon. And so, I think you can debate little bits and pieces here and there. Sure, absolutely. But all in all, by and large, it's just fun to look at this thing and know what's coming over the next couple of weeks.
I'm so with you, David. I mean, you can quibble that somebody is a 7 that should be an 8, or a 9 that should be a 8. What of it? And I don't think anybody's got to quibble a legitimate. Is there a legitimate even starter beef that they were wrongly omitted from the tournament? I don't think there's one. I don't think anybody wins the Seth Greenberg Award that he constantly won for years at Virginia Tech, and they got good after he left. They're in the tournament this year, and I think can do damage in that first game as a 10 seed against Florida. Has anybody got a legit complaint other than my ox got gored?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Louisville, because if you're a Louisville fan and you were reading the bracketologist in the days leading up to Selection Sunday, you're pretty irked right now because most of them had Louisville in the field. And they're not in the field. And, at the end of the day, they lost their only conference tournament game by 14 points to a Duke team that they had already beaten twice this year. And if they win that game, they're in, and instead they lose it by double digits. That's 2 losses in a row to end the season. And so, I mean, you have no one to blame but yourself, really, if you put yourself in a situation where it comes down to the wire like that. And they could still end up in because they're one of the replacement teams. In fact, they're the first replacement team. And so, I mean, yeah, there's still teams getting off the plane and going through testing right now. And depending on who's doing your contact tracing, if you got one case in your Tier 1 personnel and a strict contact tracer, I mean, there could still be a team or two that ends up in trouble here. So it's an interesting situation for Louisville right now, no doubt. But it's just wild, isn't it, that no Louisville, no Kentucky, Rick Pitino's in. Heck, Morehead State's the only team from the Bluegrass State in this tournament.
Wow.
Not even Murray, So that's just kind of wild. And looking at this bracket without obviously Duke, Kentucky, Louisville, seeing North Carolina as an 8 seed.
Indiana not in?
Yes, Indiana not in. Michigan State, UCLA in a play-in game. That's
2
huge.
former
that
champs.
Get me, because I think a lot of people still don't realize that this thing doesn't start on Thursday. So the fact that we at least have a playing game with a couple of really good teams, historic programs there, I think will help lessen the blow of people who have already scheduled an off day at work and turn their TV on Thursday and realize that it's not what they expected.
Well, Louisville was 1-6 in quad one games. I don't think they can. They have any real argument about anything. LSU, I just looking at seeding. I'm not sure Georgia Tech deserved the 9 seed. I'm not sure LSU deserved the seeding that they got. They were 5-8 against quad ones. They get to the championship of their conference. They're hot at the kind of the right time here. Their rank, their net is 28.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually think LSU was a bit underseeded, but I look at a potential second-round matchup there with LSU and Michigan, and right now I've got LSU winning that game because one, they looked really good on Sunday, and Michigan is probably going to be without Isaiah Livers, who I think is their best player. I mean, Hunter Dickinson's a beast down low, but he's a freshman and he can be a little bit hit or miss. And then, Mike Smith's a great point guard, but Isaiah Livers does it all, really, for Michigan. And if they're without him, I think that diminishes what they can do. And I think LSU's kind of, peaking at the right time, as you mentioned. So that's one to watch because I'm not one to make a bracket and just go for winning percentage per se and just pick the higher seeded team to win every game just so I get the most number of games right. I'm one who likes to try to predict the Cinderella, if you will, in the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, I've got LSU knocking off Michigan in the second round.
So, David, three first-round games among former champs, Michigan State and UCLA in a play-in game, UConn and Maryland, and North Carolina and Wisconsin. 17 former champs in the tournament and 39 teams that have been to at least one Final Four in their history. Who is that Cinderella that can really make noise? I bet you're going to tell me Ohio Bobcats.
Oh, yeah. He predicted that win over Virginia. We read your stuff today.
Yeah, they're trendy for sure, and part of that I think has to do with Virginia being, in a little bit of a tough situation right now with COVID protocols, and maybe a little uncertain about who all will be available for that game. I think that makes them a good pick to be an upset, potentially be upset, and then. Ohio's a good team, and they got a really good guard in Jason Preston, who's liable to go off for a triple-double if you're not careful. So I like Ohio there. I do. And then my other Cinderella, if you want to call them that as a 10 seed, I think they fit the bill, is Rutgers. First dance in 30 years for those guys. And I kind of like the draw that they have in the Midwest. I think they've got a chance to go to the Sweet 16 and maybe even the Elite Eight.
As you look at all the protocols and everything that is taking place right now, as teams have to have 7 straight days of negative tests, and I think they're tested like 2 or 3 times a day. It's wild how much testing will be going on. And we saw what happened in these conference tournaments. Do you think, David Cobb, that there will be a replacement team that will get in?
I so hope not, because I actually think Virginia and Kansas, who are the 2 teams that we know for a fact have dealt with issues over the last week, I actually think that they're going to play. Will they be down a couple of players? Maybe, but I think they're going to have enough to play. The teams that I'm worried about are the mid-major conference champions who maybe didn't have as rigorous testing and as rigorous protocols leading up to the NCAA tournament, who are going to show up in Indianapolis. Many of them are probably walking off the tarmac right now and start to get tested and maybe run into some troubles. And again, it's all going to come down to who does the contact tracing and how stringent are they. Because if you got one player who has it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get bounced from the bracket. But if whoever does your contact tracing says, well, you were in the same room as so-and-so and for such a period of time, you guys are down to 3 players. Sorry, you can't play. That's the situation I'm worried about is, somebody like, Cole Gates or an Oral Roberts getting off the plane and going through that over the next couple of days. I think that's actually the situation where a replacement team would potentially come in.
David, you're telling me something I'm sorry to our listeners I'm just not aware of. So there are friendly, hometown, cozy contact tracers?
I mean, hey, you can pay off anyone. I'm being facetious saying that, but yeah, I do think there's got to be some variation there. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure they're all trying to abide by the same set of protocols there, but yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, how honest are you going to be? If you're a coach who's led your program to the first NCAA tournament in a decade, and you have somebody from your Tier 1 personnel who tests positive, do you send out a quick group text and say, "Hey, everyone, let's be careful about what we tell this contact tracer. If at all possible, try to avoid telling her that you were in the same room as such and such a walk-on for more than 10 minutes over the last week." I mean, I know that's cynical to think that somebody would do that, but
it's college sports. They do it.
Those are the situations that we're going to be navigating behind the scenes, in this deal over the next
right.
few days.
And I think we should clarify. I think when you're talking about that, when the contact tracer calls you, if there is a negative that comes up, and I've even heard like some of the swabbing that could go on, instead of deep, it could be very shallow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And there you go.
And then with the contact tracing, so if you're in a room with somebody, or you passed them by, and you were with them for 2 minutes, nothing happens. If you're in the room, what is it, over 15 minutes? Isn't that what's considered?
Right. Close contact.
So never say you've been around anybody for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
You say, yeah, we passed by. We might have been together, a minute, 2 minutes. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly
that's
right.
what you'll hear.
And we both had our masks on, and we were mostly 8 feet apart for the entirety of the interaction. I think they're probably getting coached on how to handle that right now. And so I don't think that we're going to see widespread outbreaks. I just don't.
All right, that stands in direct contrast of what we've been conditioned to for the last year, in that this is the scourge of all time, and that Trey Turner at the World Series was treated like Charles Manson.
Well, I think at this point, collectively as a society, we've kind of turned a page and no longer truly care. And I'm not in any way discounting the power of the virus. We've seen the toll that it's taken on our nation.
Justin Turner, I'm sorry.
Yes, but it's just a situation now where I don't think we're going to see enough positive tests to wipe out a single team, and I hope I'm right on that. And I think these guys know the game, know the drill well enough. They've gotten through the entire season to this point. We played something like 98% of our conference tournament games. These guys know the drill. They know how to handle themselves with the contact tracing and whatnot. Like I said, the only situation that I'm worried about is a mid-major conference tournament champion who just dogpiled on Saturday, was in a bus, on a plane, in a locker room, all that stuff together with maybe less stringent protocols. That's the team I'm worried about, is somebody on that 12 through 16 line who, maybe ends up with just too many positives and can't get out of it.
But that would be somebody from their conference replacing them, right?
Well, no, I think it would just be one of those 4 replacement teams. Those have been designated to, I think, more or less fill any spot that comes open and just plug right into the bracket. They're not going to.
I'm confused about that and the wording of it, because I thought if you're from a multiple bid conference, then the replacements come from the 4 that just missed out, including Ole Miss and Louisville, Colorado State, and I'm trying to remember the 4th.
St. Louis.
St. Louis. There you go. Okay. Yeah. So if there's a conference with multiple bids, those 4 are the ones that are replacements. If it is a single bid league, then I think the replacement comes from that league.
That's what I thought.
Now, my understanding is that it's just straight up those 4, and that's essentially it. Because what I'm reading now from the NCAA is that if all 4 of those teams are needed, then the next opening results in a forfeit. So there isn't a 5th team. It's just one of those 4, in the order that the NCAA announced them last night. So I mean, if you're Louisville, you got to be ready to go, and you got to be ready to pretend you're a 1 seed or pretend you're a 16 seed, somewhere in the middle. Because my understanding is that they would just plug you right into the void that opened.
That part I do remember. What happens if there's more than 4?
Yeah, it's a forfeit. That 5th team that can't play, the opponent they're scheduled to play against advances via forfeit.
Okay. Josh Pastner is going to win it all. That's how.
I know they were helped at the ACC tournament it's crazy watching that ACC tournament final the other day because Florida State had played one game to get there, and Georgia Tech had played one game to get there. And, so essentially those teams kind of had like triple buys. That certainly helped Georgia Tech.
It absolutely did. You think that's the right seeding for him? I mean, he's paying a price for that for sure because he's got to play Loyola, which is the darling of all the mid majors, and then if he wins that game, and he's the underdog in the game, then he's got to play Illinois.
Yeah, but I like Georgia Tech to hang with Illinois. I mean, their strengths match up, I think, somewhat favorably with Illinois' strengths. They are honestly teams that I don't think are all that different because you've got a star guard, Jose Alvarado for Georgia Tech, Io DeSumner for Illinois. Mm-hmm. And then you got a star big, Moses Wright for Georgia Tech, along with the Kofi Coburn for Illinois. And I think Illinois has a talent edge in both those slots. But Moses Wright and Jose Alvarado are two of the grittiest competitors you will ever find for Georgia Tech. And much like Illinois, they've got a few role players that can fill it up too. So to me, that's an intriguing matchup. I think Illinois has a talent edge there, but this Georgia Tech team, that this means something to them, because they hadn't been in so long. Kastner was on the hot seat as short as like a month ago, in some people's opinion. So I think this is a motivated, fired up Georgia Tech team, and I think they'll beat Loyola Chicago, and I think they'll play Illinois pretty close too if it happens.
That's really interesting. If that is the matchup, the Alvarado DeSomo matchup, because he's so good offensively, Alvarado is so great defensively. That is going to be one of the premier storyline matchups that we would see if indeed Georgia Tech gets past Loyola. And I love those Ramblers, but I kind of think you're right. I think that they'll win that game. There's Georgia Tech's got three really, really good players, and Loyola's got Kruig, and a couple of good players, but nothing like the trio of Georgia Tech, I don't think.
Yeah, Loyola's hardly been tested this year. They didn't get to play much of a non-conference schedule. And talking about those potential 1-8 or 1-9 matchups, I mean, Gonzaga is the only one that I really feel has a clear path to the Sweet 16 and beyond in Gonzaga's case. The other three number one seeds, I think, face tough games in the second round. And, as it stands now, I think I mentioned, but I've got LSU over Michigan. And I got Baylor over North Carolina, but I think that could be a really good game as well.
David, a couple of things. Let's go local. Tigers, 3 years, all smoke, no flame. Tennessee, with Fulkerson out, I think the punishment for the Florida player should be the game that Fulkerson already missed, and any more that he misses, he should have to miss. And Eric Musselman in year 2, a 3 seed.
Yeah, well, Eric Musselman, just tremendous job. And, I think they got a chance. That South region has 4 really good seeds as its top 4 teams and 4 really good teams. And, it's going to be tough for him to advance, I think, maybe beyond the second round. I think Sweet 16 is probably the ceiling there for Arkansas. And then with Memphis, obviously, Wolo, you mentioned it at the top, free throws, man. Something as simple as that makes a difference in where this team is headed this week. And I think you can rightly lay some blame at the feet of the AAC League office. And I think they should be just thanking their lucky stars that the tournament selection committee looked favorably upon Wichita State.
Oh, yeah, Oresco got bailed out. There's no question.
Yeah, no doubt, because otherwise the AAC is a one-bid league. And, frankly, he already has some tough questions to answer, but it's the pressure and the spotlight's a whole lot worse if it's Houston and Houston only this week. And then I can't remember. Oh, Tennessee was the other team you asked me about.
With the Fulkerson's injury.
Yeah, look, I got no idea what to make of Tennessee. They played Alabama so well in the first half of the SEC tournament semifinal, and they just kind of ran out of gas. And honestly, I like them without Fulkerson sometimes. And I know Fulker is such an emotional leader for them, but I think Tennessee's path to a run in the NCAA tournament is relying on their athleticism and versatility. And when you got Fulkerson in there, he serves a purpose in some matchups. But against a team like Oklahoma State, maybe in the second round,
slows him down a little.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if you got Pons at the 5 and you got some athletic guards out there around him, you're a switchable team defensively, a versatile team, and a team that can get out and run.
I think that's spot on. I agree with you, especially if they take on Oklahoma State. That may very well be an advantage. But I also agree with Brett. it's almost biblical, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But, the Florida kid that absolutely blatantly elbowed Fulkerson, I don't care if he apologized. He's knocked him out for I don't know how long Fulkerson is out.
Yeah,
that kid should miss as many games as Fulkerson misses. That makes pure sense to me.
Yeah, well, Fulkerson looked awful on the sideline.
Oh, he did.
Looked like Tony Canigliaro.
Yeah, he looked like he was being bothered by the lights, the noises. He had earplugs in. He looked bad. I don't know if we're gonna have to worry about Florida, though, to be honest, because I wrote an entire South region preview that was like 1,500 words. That's online right now, and I got to the end of it, and I was like,
impressive.
I didn't mention Florida one time, and it's because I don't think they're going to win, honestly, in their first round game, and they've just been so just okay this season. I just don't see it being a team that makes a run. So I don't know that we have to worry about that kid, making much noise in the NCAA tournament, because I don't think Florida's going to be around for it to matter. I just see them being a team that loses in the first round. And if they do get by Virginia Tech, I think Ohio State just absolutely smokes them.
Did you mention that Oral Roberts hadn't won since '74, and I think David Vaughn's dad was on that team?
Wow.
Well, I do like Oral Roberts. I hate that Oral Roberts got to Ohio State, because that's one of the few teams that can actually run with them and score with them and play small ball the same way they do. So I wish that Oral Roberts had gotten a different 2 seed. I think maybe matched up with Houston, maybe even, that Oral Roberts could be a Cinderella. They actually have the nation's leading scorer right now. Max Abnett has overtaken Luka Garza as the nation's leading scorer. So I love that Oral Roberts team. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's at least a good game, down the stretch.
It would have been perfect then for the 2 seed to have been Iowa.
Yeah,
since you mentioned Luka
exactly.
Garza, that would have been the great matchups. In all those words that you use for the South region, how far do you have Arkansas going?
Yeah, I got them get bounced in the Sweet 16 by Ohio State. They actually have Ohio State beating Baylor. That's kind of in the region. I was kind of out on Ohio State. They lost 4 in a row in the regular season. But after watching them in the Big Ten tournament, I think they're back, and I like the way that the region sets up for Ohio State, because they're a small team. I mean, E.J. Liddell is generously listed at like 6'7", and he's kind of like a Grant Williams, from a few years back. And he's more or less their big. But what I see for Ohio State going out of the South region is that they're probably not going to have to match up with anybody like a Kofi Coburn, who can just annihilate them inside. And so for that reason, I kind of like Ohio State to come out of that region.
David, that region, it merits 1,500 words. In my opinion, the best young coach in the country, and the coach that will win the coaching lottery with one upset, kind of like Chris Beard at Little Rock that year and Andy Enfield at Florida Gulf Coast. If Grant McCaslin wins for North Texas, he wins the coaching lottery this year. Probably won't get the big step up. This time next year, if he's still at North Texas and after year 4 and it hadn't worked at Memphis, Ole Miss, or Mississippi State, or Rick Barnes retires at Tennessee, he should be at the top of all those lists.
Yeah, that's right. He did a little stint at Arkansas State, didn't he? So
1 year, good year.
Yeah, and that's not been an easy place to win as of late. So, good mention there. And you know what? North Texas has a guy by the name of Javion Hamlet, who played at Whitehaven High School, who just carried them through the Conference USA tournament. So a couple of area connections there.
To be or not to be.
And Hamlet's a guy that I've mentioned among my players to watch out of the South region. I tweeted this, but just a total example of the type of talent that Memphis produces, because a guy like that can get lost in the shuffle almost in this city, because there's so many good players that you almost don't even recognize that second tier of elite high school talent sometime. And he's a guy that didn't have any stars, no big-time recruiting accolades coming out of Whitehaven, bounced around the JUCO ranks, and now he surfaced in the NCAA tournament, after putting a team on his back in the Conference USA tournament. So I'll be watching that North Texas Purdue game, because I think that there's some good storylines in that one.
Who else you think comes out of this tournament as a hot coach? Like the Loyola coach?
Well, Porter Moser, I think this is his.
He's waiting on Notre Dame.
Because, with Minnesota and Indiana coming open today, DePaul as well. I mean, he could, I think, get his name in the running for any of those jobs. He might not be first on the list for Indiana or Minnesota. But if I were him, I'd be looking, to try to get in there for an interview because, I mean, he's, in my mind, kind of accomplished all there is to accomplish at Loyola Chicago. He's proven that the Final Four run wasn't a fluke. So I don't really know where you go from here if you decide to stay there. So I'd be interested to see him, kind of branch out a little bit. Nate Oates obviously is a name that I think Kentucky fans are already salivating over. And then Mike Boynton at Oklahoma State, I think is a name that's kind of rising in stardom. And not just because he recruited Cade Cunningham. I mean, it didn't take a genius to hire Cade's brother and kind of lure him in that way. But it does take a good leader, I think, to navigate a team through the Big 12 while you're also dealing with the shadow of an NCAA investigation, a potential postseason ban, all that kind of stuff. And Boynton's proven to, be able to get this team going. Even when Cade's been out, they've been looked really competitive and won a couple of games, even without him. So I like Boynton. I think if he gets this team to an Elite Eight, you're going to see Indiana maybe make a hard charge at him. But yeah, I mean, those are not too terribly off the radar type of names, but definitely Oates and Boynton are on the come up right now in the coaching profession.
Good stuff, as always. By the way, with Porter Moser, I did see a couple of tweets in Chicago where maybe he should slide over and take the DePaul job because that's the Big East. I think.
Yeah, I just feel like he could do better, don't you?
What if Mike Bray retires at Notre Dame? I think that's what he wants.
If that's what he wants, I'd wait for that.
I would too.
Yeah.
He won at UALR. And was a good guy around town in Little Rock. I mean, much beloved, like Beard was.
I got some memories of DePaul being relevant in Conference USA, way back in the day when Memphis was doing it
with Tom Kleinschmidt in the Great American. Come on, David.
No.
Well, no, you're going back before my time. But,
I'm sorry.
I don't even think DePaul's been in an NCAA tournament for
it's
almost
over.
2 decades at this point. Yeah.
You have to almost go all the way back to Ray Meyer and Joey for a little bit, and that's since then. Getting rid of the Myers was not the best thing that ever happened.
No kidding, Dave. It was
DePaul.
like UAB turning on Murray and Coach Bartow.
It sure was. Was.
Think this out a little bit, people. Just instead of all mad now and you got some big fat cat that writes you a big check, think it out a little bit.
And guess what? Look who came back to help UAB out. A person that's a part of that tree.
Out of that lineage.
And Andy
Great
Kennedy.
point, Dave.
Yeah. And unfortunately for DePaul, and now Loyola owns that city again. And, they switched, too, because you mentioned earlier, 63, Loyola under a guy named George Ireland is the talk of the town, and then the Myers took over. And Loyola
never won it,
was nothing until they actually joined the Missouri Valley Conference.
I mean, that was when Ray Meyer lost in the NCAA tournament, his last game there after that venerable run, that was an emotional moment.
It was.
That was one shiny moment. That made the film at the end.
Well, they haven't had anybody like Mark Aguirre or Terry Cummings since that era either. They haven't had great stars. And Kleinschmidt, wasn't that his name that you mentioned? He wasn't one of those either.
No, he wasn't. He was not.
David, as always, we appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Absolutely, guys. No problem.
Talk to you next week, and we'll know even more. We'll be right in the heart of all of this. This portion of the show, of course, this hour of the show is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. There's also Genesis of Olive Branch with those great G70s, G80s, G90s, and the GV80. I can't help but mention the SUV that we've all been waiting for that's been likened to a $300,000 luxury car. 50 to 70, that's what it will cost you, and it is unbelievable bang for your dollar. That's what people say about the Genesis luxury car, that you get more for your money than any other luxury car on the market, and they are selling. Folks, Genesis of Olive Branch is in the top 50 in the country. That's competing against the number of sales in metropolitan areas like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. Top 10 in the region, number 2 in the district, sometimes number 1, depending on the month, and they make it so easy for you to buy. In fact, service is what they're all about. They got the product so good you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile maintenance, a warranty on every new Hyundai or Genesis car. And then there's the maintenance package that I started to tell you about. That's 3-year, 36,000 miles on the house because they want to take care of you. They've raised the bar on service, and that product is unbeatable. That's why you've got to go see my friends at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Halfway home on this Monday. Back in a minute on Sports Time on Sports 56.
Basketball has met its match. It's Sports 56 mornings with your assist kings, Pete and Sane, bringing you the best alley-oops of informative sports talk, great guests, calls and texts, prize giveaways, and more.
There's always that one team that ruins your bracket. That's why I'm betting the tournament on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. On FanDuel, your first bet is risk-free. New users get up to $1,000 in site credit back if your first bet doesn't win. With games day and night, an easy-to-use app, multiple deposits, and fast withdrawals, your next chance to win with FanDuel is only minutes away. And if that's not enough, FanDuel wants to make you a millionaire. That's right. They're giving away $1 million to one lucky bettor. New and existing users get an additional shot at the payout every day you bet the tourney. So if you want a shot at becoming a millionaire or even a thousandaire, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Just use the promo code GASMAN so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply for $1 million drawing risk-free offer for first online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires 14 days after receipt. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. For problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789.
This is a job alert. If you're looking for work, this will interest you. Whether you're looking for full-time, part-time, or even something temporary if you've been recently furloughed, text 107-JOB to 49330. That's 107-JOB to 49330. Office work available now in a clean office environment with all COVID precautions taken. Text 107-JOB to 49330 and someone will be in touch about these job opportunities available now. Text 107-JOB to 49330.
There's nothing worse than overhype, so we won't go overboard telling you how Taco Bell's Quesalupa is back with its cheese-stuffed shell. We'll skip the Quesalupa air shows and making a statue in honor of how there's cheese in every bite. Marvelous. And we won't send one to the moon.
Quesalupa has landed.
Instead, we'll pass on all the fanfare and just tell you Taco Bell's Quesalupa has returned, and we think you'll like it. At participating locations for a limited time.
I want to do some bragging rights. Hey, I was just the other day overhearing a conversation with Big Mike, the manager of DeSoto Auto Sales. They've got people buying cars all over the country. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas. People from all over the country buy cars at DeSoto Auto Sales in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Why? DeSoto Auto Sales has the most stringent car inspection in America. They get it right the first time. Quality and low mileage, factory warranty on most vehicles. My favorite part is the people who work there. Big Mike, all the employees are professional, friendly, and go that extra mile. Expect as you walk in the door, you're treated like family. DeSoto Auto Sales understands your time matters. We can help you find your dream car and get all the paperwork finished in less than an hour. Come see us at DeSoto Auto Sales and be part of our family. Have a great buying experience every time. 662-890-7184.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
After the bracket reveal, everybody's been kind of looking at it, evaluating it, trying to pick out who's going to win, who are the Cinderellas going to be. Fun fact, since 1985, so we're talking 35 years ago, from the 1, 2, and 3 seeds, how many games do you think they have lost in those 35 years?
5.
30.
The ones lost 1.
Yep. Between the 2 and the 3 in the last 35 years, 29 losses. I guess since the beginning of the tournament, the 3 seeds have lost to 14s 21 times.
that's always one to win you a lot of points. If you can get that 3-14, everybody loves the 12 and the 5. And then after that, I think it's coin toss between 11-6, 10-7, and the most natural coin toss of all is 8 and 9. But you get you a 15 win for you. I had it one year in Coppin State. You getting ready to win the pool.
In the 14s this year, Colgate and Arkansas, I don't see that happening. Morehead State, West Virginia, maybe that would be the most likely that I think I see. I don't see Texas losing to Abilene Christian, and I don't see Kansas losing to Washington, Eastern Washington, but that might be the second one. Biggest one for me would be Morehead State, West Virginia.
All of those have big budget differentials because I think all those 3 seeds are at least group of 5, if not Kansas, you're in the football power, but Arkansas has been, and West Virginia can be, and Texas, sure, well, I think they can be. They think they have been. But look at the budget differential, and you know it will be their Super Bowl. They will be taking pictures pregame of just the scoreboard showing them playing them. Abilene Christian against Texas. That's David v. Goliath.
Oh, that is. that is big. And Abilene Christian's won 23 games this year. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. The Arkansas and Colgate, we've been making fun of Colgate because of their positioning in the net, and we know the flaw that is. They're the example of the flaw in that particular metric. But I have heard some people say that Colgate and Arkansas play similarly.
Yeah, they do. It's very high up-tempo, and Colgate wants to get it off the glass and go, and they want to bomb threes. I can only think of 2 Colgate players ever. Former Grizzly, Adonal Foyle, and Kiki Vandeweghe's granddad.
How do you know Kiki Vandeweghe's granddad? That one I did not know.
Because I loved Kiki Vandeweghe at UCLA.
I did not. I knew Foyle, but I did not know Kiki Vandeweghe's granddad. That is for certain.
You know who's in the tournament this year, and their last win was that year. Maybe the last time they were in the tournament was that year. I think that's it. I know it was their last win. Drexel.
Well, I remember Malik Rose Drexel. That's for sure. Because the Tigers took him lightly.
In Albuquerque.
And
what was that day? Was that 4 versus 13? What was that seed differential?
That sounds like it could be. That could have been a 4-13. But I remember the Tigers sort of making fun of them saying, what's a Drexel? When they first heard of their matchup. And then Malik Rose was really good. And that was not a bad Tiger team either. That was a Lorenzo Wright Tiger team.
That was a good Tiger team. That was Mingo Johnson. That was David Vaughn. Lorenzen
was definitely there, but I don't think David Vaughn was
David.
Part of that. No.
But that Drexel team that day, I was not in Albuquerque. You were. I was in Dallas, and it came over the PA in Dallas, and people were shocked. And I was sitting by Mike DeCourcy, and we said that's the beginning of the end of Larry, and it was.
It was. It actually began in my mind a little bit earlier when the
health.
His health, and also when he missed out on Tony Harris. That was when
that was
sort
that
of
previous
the public,
fall.
Yeah, that was when the public really first sort of, I hate to say this because this is
Jason the Harris
sort of inevitable with heroes, but a guy can be a hero and then he leaves, right? He goes on to be a pro, and he's forever remembered, glorified. Comes back to be a coach. Now you're taking a chance on your legacy. And that's what happened with Larry, because you could become the winningest coach in the school's history, but if you don't keep delivering and you lose a guy, and then suddenly you're not quite as good as you used to be. That's the first time I saw the fans start to turn on Larry Finch.
It was, Dave, and it was sad to see, and some heavy criticism from some in the media. It was sad to see, and chasing Tony Harris, it was almost a tough mission from the beginning. 5-12 matchup. Drew tells me that Drexel Tigers game that day in Albuquerque.
That's the dreadful one because 12
sure
win
is.
a lot.
It seems that way. Dave, it was very chalky at the SEC tournament. I said it a couple times in your absence over Thursday and Friday. I don't know how many ended up being in the building at Dickey's Arena. It looked like a fabulous building. It will host first and second round games next year of the NCAA men's tournament. Whoever was there got their money's worth. Those games were great.
They were, and it is fabulous, that arena. The seats are so comfortable. If you remember the complaints about the old pyramid, how terrible and how tight they were. This is the opposite of that. The lighting is outstanding. It's the greatest Jumbotron I've ever seen. It's 4K, and I've never seen this before. This is great for a fan. So if you're sitting in FedEx Forum and you're sitting the side of the benches, right, and you look up on the Jumbotron, you're seeing the action opposite camera, right, because the cameras are on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
If you are sitting either side, I don't know how they do this because I don't think they have two separate camera systems and directors and switchers. Either side of that incredible Jumbotron, and it's nicer than the one at FedEx Forum, and that's nice. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying this is spectacular. Every side you look at, it's all on camera side, to the side you're looking.
Dave, next year when fans can start to go back, and we hope, and start planning to live again, and the Tigers, I guarantee you, next year will take 5,000 to 6,000 people down there, kind of opening bid, kind of minimum. If they're real good, it'll be more than that. What else is around that building? What could people be looking in store for?
Well, Oresco said yesterday on his little State of the League address after the fact that they're there for 3 more years, but he wants to extend the contract. It is a cool setup. The hotels are about 5 to 10 minutes away from the building, so you can't walk to the building. But around the hotels, Fort Worth's done an amazing job of really putting together an entertainment district there. So there are great restaurants, there are great bars that stay open really late. There are like, I've never seen this before. There are little like art areas, and there's a museum, but there's water, like little water parks. Like you can walk like 3 blocks from the hotel that we were staying at, the Renaissance Worthington. You can walk 3 blocks, and there's it's like art and water put to life. It's like waterfalls, 360 waterfalls that you can walk down in on, and there were kids there that were really enjoying it. And there's several of those little areas that are just peaceful, artful, really nice places to get away, to go eat lunch if you're working downtown. I mean, Fort Worth has done a good job of revitalizing their downtown. And then you can go to, further away where like the Cattleman's restaurant is, and that's old Fort Worth where the stockyards are. That's a whole other area. I mean, it is nice, and I think they get a sweetheart.
Would you recommend it next year?
I would. I would recommend going because
start saving now.
There's a lot to do. I think a lot of it is if your team is really good, you're really interested in going.
That makes it so much more fun.
You got the games, and you got a lot that you can go see
again,
and that you can do. Yeah.
One of my truths of life: any sports trip made better by your team doing well.
No doubt. But so many of these areas now have entertainment districts right around the arenas, and that's great. That makes it even more fun. But no, I have no argument with them extending it. The only thing is it truly does give the SMU team, Houston's not far, Wichita State and Tulsa, they've got an advantage. Wichita State brings people, so they'll probably end up with the most people there. Memphis, it's a little bit further, but it's not terrible. But if you're UCF or you're Temple or you're USF, you're going to go after the next few years. Wait a second. We got to have one. You got to have it somewhere.
Help us a little. Dave, and you're going to wear out a set of tires going to Dallas.
Well, I will. I'll let you know. We are because it's weird the way the NIT thing is set up. So Memphis is not playing till Saturday. They're leaving on Thursday. Once they're there, they cannot leave until they lose. So we've just turned around, drove, because we're not in the bubble, so we're not on the team plane. And we came right back. I mean, it was nice. It was exciting. A heartbreaking loss, but it was a heck of a game. And the whole tournament was really a good tournament. As you mentioned, good games, great new arena. I enjoyed it. I really did. Then we turned around and we got up the next day, and it would have been, if Memphis had played in the championship game, I probably wouldn't have gotten home till 1 o'clock in the morning. But we got home in time for me to watch the end of the golf and the reveal show and everything else. So that was fine. And then if you could get there and they were going to play the next day or two, we probably would have gone. But the way this thing is set up, Memphis plays on Saturday at noon against Dayton. If they win, they don't play again until the 25th, which is what is that, Thursday? I think so. Yes. I think that's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they don't play again until Thursday. Well, that's not practical for a company to pay for you for one game and then sit around for 5 days.
I mean,
so
Boston Celtics can't afford that,
right? So we decided we would do this first game, and it was my suggestion, so I'm all for it because I think it's only fair that we will do that game the way we've done every road game this year in the studio, watching it on TV.
And then go.
Yeah. And then if they win that game, we will go on Friday on Wednesday, the following Wednesday for the next Thursday game, and we'll stay there until the end because you play on that Thursday, and then Saturday is the semifinals, and there is a game on Sunday, whether you win or lose, there's a consolation game this year. So we could be there through Sunday.
Speaking of banners, the old consolation NIT banner.
No, I don't think anybody would hang that.
Texter at 70236 says, hey, guys, let me read it correctly. Wake up, guys. It starts and stops with the Gonzaga. No argue with me. I said it last week. I did my bracket reverse order. I started with champion Gonzaga, semifinals Gonzaga, winning the regional Gonzaga. I'm wide awake.
I think Gonzaga is definitely going to get into the Final Four. I think Illinois could beat them if they get by Baylor. I think I think Illinois is going to get by Baylor. I know we're going to make our picks later in the week, but I think Illinois. Boy, I watched Illinois. I think Illinois could beat Gonzaga.
Some of the great inbound plays I've seen all year that coach at Illinois draws up.
Oh, with the sprinting? Yeah.
It's really creative, and it will get copied like the Wishbone did. Everybody will be running it.
How far Houston do you think they can go?
Win one game.
Just Cleveland State, and you think Clemson or
Clemson?
Clemson gets them. I think they're going to make it to the next weekend. They play really good defense. And the way Grimes is playing now, if Grimes shoots like that, look out. This portion
that Tiger tape will get around, though. The Tigers showed a lot of teams. This is what you got to do now. Yeah. Can you do it?
You can exploit the inside if you've got the weapons in there for sure. I think Penny did expose that. This portion of the show brought to you by Grind City Brewing, taking care of business in Memphis with the new product that you can now get in Kroger called Tiger Tail. It's actually not that new, but it is the official craft beer of the University of Memphis. This father-son duo that came up with Grind City Brewing, they are all about Memphis. They wanted to get connected with the University of Memphis. They asked if they could make Tiger Tail the official craft beer of the university, and the Tigers said yes. And I'm glad because it is really good. Comes in 16-ounce six-packs, not your typical malt liquor. It is crafted with a bold and smooth flavor. It's got this incredible finish, which makes it incredibly easy drinking. And it's got 7.5% alcohol. Like I say, you first could only buy it in the brewery, then it was at spirit shops. So popular now you could get it at Kroger. Go check it out. Tiger Tail and Grind City Brewing, taking care of beerness in Memphis. We'll talk some Grizz when we return.
Get happy with Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
Mid-South Hobbies has your favorite model airplanes, boats, race cars, and trains to build. With brands you know like Lionel, LGB, and a large selection of Traxxas radio-controlled trucks, cars, and boats. Mid-South Hobbies has all the accessories to make them complete, with thousands of paint colors to make them shine. Reach the sky with rockets and kites, or reach deep into your imagination with action figures, comic book superheroes, and fantasy quest games. Get passionate about your hobby at Mid-South Hobbies, 4862 Summer Avenue.
Hi, I'm Hayden Moore, General Manager of the all-new Wolf Chase Hyundai. Don't miss the Hyundai Spring Upgrade Sales Event. For the first time ever, get 0% APR for 60 months on the all-new 2021 Elantra. Drive with Hyundai Assurance, America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Visit wolfchasehyundai.com. With approved credit, $1,667 per month for every $1,000 finance. Example down payment 10%. Down payment will vary based on credit rating. Offer ends 4/12/21.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
2021 is finally here. Might I suggest we start the wonderful new year with a makeover for your beautiful house. I'm Brian Elder. I'm a roofer. I fix roofs. Don't let them tell you that it has to be replaced when all it may need is some love. 867-0303. Let me love on your roof. I've made quite the reputation over the last decade as the guy to call after the insurance company denies the claim. Overturning a claim that has gone bad is an art form where you argue county code, manufacturer specs, and details of your policy that they have to abide by. So let me see it first. If I say it's a claim, it's a claim. 867-0303. Money is free at Brian Elder Roofing with 0% financing for half a decade. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you a quote right over the phone. 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Grizzlies play tonight, late game, 9 o'clock in Phoenix last night. Wow, a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. They get outscored by 16, 38-22 in the fourth. Their defense was awful. They gave up 16 threes. Field goal percentage on the defensive side for the Grizz, 58%. They let Oak City shoot that well. You score 122 and still lose? That's a bad defense. And wasted another double-double by Jonas Valanciunas.
They did, Dave, and back to being you really don't know what to think of this team other than one of the common denominators, whether it's college basketball and bubble teams and people whining about not getting in, and teams like the Grizzlies. You're inconsistent and you're hard to figure out for a reason, because that means you're not bad, but you're not very good.
No, and you never know with this team. Some nights they do bring that effort, and that I think that's a common thing with the NBA. You play so many games, especially the way they're doing it this year, that you're not going to have energy every night, because we've seen when they want to play really good defense, they are capable of doing it. They did not do that at all.
They squandered a chance at 3-0. Friday night was not good, but a tough hard luck loss. And then last night, you could question some effort.
Yeah. And you know what? Would you be shocked tonight if they went and they beat Phoenix?
I would not be.
No, I wouldn't either.
But
I would not
because
be either.
It's the NBA for one, and it's 2021 second year of COVID for another. Speaking of COVID, Dave, I about give. Breaking news. Ole Miss Baseball has announced Wednesday's game between Ole Miss and Louisiana Tech that it's been canceled as the Rebel baseball program reviews a potential COVID case on the team and contact tracing with a limited number of players. The Rebels and Bulldogs will still play on Tuesday at 6 p.m. as scheduled.
Huh.
I give.
I give, too. Along those lines, I just read...
It's also arbitrary.
Gino Auriemma, the UConn coach, he apparently tested positive for COVID. I'm assuming, right, they're NCAAs. Wouldn't they have the same rules for the girls as they do for the guys? So you can play as long as you have 5 players and you don't even need a coach.
And did you see that scene in Oxford all weekend? Big crowds, and it's wide open. No mask, no distancing, no nothing. Live and let live. And old-fashioned people sitting by each other at a baseball game, and they were packed in there with huge crowds all weekend.
No social distancing whatsoever?
None.
Man. After what I saw on 60 Minutes last night about the new variant, I wish we were going to be a little more careful. But I will say this. The efficacy of the Moderna and the Pfizer, I did not see a Johnson & Johnson efficacy, but it's supposed to be good against the UK variant and the South American variant as well.
I know an easy way to shut down the variants because they're coming in from somewhere else, aren't they?
They are. Shut down the
airports. Close the border.
Yeah. You could do that. This portion of the show brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Matt and his professionals, guys like Grant and Andrew and Heath and, of course, Brett. Well, they're there to make sure you get taken care of the right way, which means that they will find the right companies that fit your needs and your budget. They've got 10 different companies that will match you the right way with home or auto programs, 15 of those to match you up with life insurance. You never wonder if you got a good deal when you've got 15 different options. And again, they'll sit you down. They'll find out what your needs are, what your budget is, and the perfect match is made. Same thing with commercial insurance. If you've got small to mid-sized businesses, and they have virtually unlimited access to programs for those businesses, again, they'll get to know you and find the right company for you. Just call Grant, Andrew, or Heath at 901-386-4777. That's GER for Tigers, they're big supporters. 901-386-4777. That's the number to get protected the right way with the Eflin Insurance Team. We are back in a minute with hour number 3. Our friend from Blue Ribbon Magazine, Blake Lovell, comes your way next.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roof Services. You've heard me talk about how we offer the best products, the best warranties, and the best services for years. Now let's talk about pricing. Pricing should never be the only reason you hire a contractor, but in today's world, pricing is always a consideration. So we suggest you get 2 or 3 estimates for your roof replacement from a reputable, licensed, and insured company, and then give us a call. If we can't beat your best price for a comparable roof system by more than $100, we'll give you $100. It's that simple. We are so sure we can offer you the best price, beating all other qualified companies. We will hand you $100 if we can't, and thank you for the opportunity. So give us a call. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Make $100? Five-Ash Roof Services, a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Five-Ash Roof Services, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Hi, I'm Hayden Moore, General Manager of the all-new Wolf Chase Hyundai. Don't miss the Hyundai Spring Upgrade Sales Event. For the first time ever, get 1.9% APR for 60 months or 2.9% for 72 months on new 2021 Palisades. Drive with Hyundai Assurance, America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Visit wolfchasehyundai.com with approved credit $1,748 and $1,515 per month, respectively, for every $1,000 finance. Example down payment 10%. Down payment will vary based on credit rating. Offer ends 4/12/21.
It's time, Memphis. Tune in to Fox Sports Southeast and watch your next-gen Grizzlies tonight at 9 p.m. when they take on the Phoenix Suns, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Check out Grizzlies.com for more information.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Blake Lovell would join us from Blue Ribbon Magazine and talk about all the NCAA tournament games. I said earlier, I can't imagine going through March Madness without my FanDuel Sportsbook app nearby for all the tournament fun. It's tournament time, and with so many games going on, who wants to bet on just one game? That's why I love betting parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's a great way to combine bets from different games for an even bigger win, and FanDuel is here to help if your parlay doesn't go, well, it's playing. They'll give you up to $25 back in site credit if your parlay of 3 legs or more falls 1 leg short. You got that Big 10-teamer working, you fall 1 shy, that parlay insurance takes care of you. That's 1 parlay per day, each day of the tournament for new and existing users. That's why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app. The app is easy to use, many bet options to choose from, and always on promotions. And when you win, you get paid in as little as 24 hours. It's your money. You've won it. It's fair and square. You get it back. If you've been thinking about signing up, now is the perfect time to give it a shot. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $25. Terms do apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. For problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789. This hour of our show brought to you every day. Blake Lovell with us every Monday during this hour. It's brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Visit their website, DeSotoAutoSales.com, and look at all the happy referrals and look at the beautiful cars at 5704 Goodman Road. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience you've come to know and love at DeSoto Auto Sales. No shortcuts taken. When you walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, down-home environment, and they care about your time, and they want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. Within 45 minutes, find the car you want, test drive that car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in time to do it over your busy lunch hour, and now with plenty of time before nightfall. At DeSoto Auto Sales down in DeSoto County, where they're proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area, at 5704 Goodman Road. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
We love chatting with our friend Blake Lovell from Blue Ribbon Magazine. We got lots to chew, that's for sure, with the bracket and everything else. So, Blake, I'll start with you the way I've started a bunch of times. Do you think this was a job well done by Mitch Barnhart and his committee?
Yeah, guys, I think it was, I think it's probably what you could have asked for the most part. We knew there was going to be some challenges, and as I've told you guys many times, I wouldn't have wanted to be anyone in the committee this year having to decide between 13 based on number of games played and pauses and all that kind of stuff. So, as always, there are some things you can pick at, but I think given the circumstances, I don't think we should just be sitting here saying what a terrible job, just because I think overall they did a pretty good job given the circumstances of the season.
Blake, it had to be about the only good thing Kentucky basketball fans have had all year to watch their AD get to fend off the questions of why U of L wasn't in the bracket. Can you imagine reversing that scenario and someday the chair of the CFP is either Auburn explaining Bama or Bama explaining Auburn?
That's the thing, is if I'm Mitch Bartlett, I would have said either Louisville was the second team out or like the eighth team out, because I probably wouldn't have said they were the first team out, because that conversation escalates from there, as we know. But I mean, here's the deal, and I get it. I mean, the appearance isn't great when you think about the two fan bases involved, I guess, just with, having a Kentucky guy, being someone that's such a big part of that decision. But when you put yourself on the bubble, the fact is you are subject to getting knocked out by teams who steal bids. What we said with Ole Miss, same with Louisville, and Georgetown, Oregon State. Those two teams took care of that. So you don't want to be in that position. I think it's just one of those where win more games. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. Although I know, like I said, the looks of it from the outside gives those two fan bases a little ammunition to work with there.
Well, I think the committee did a heck of a job, to be honest with you, especially considering the COVID issues that we've had, the pauses, and trying to find a rhythm and having less non-conference games with which to really judge how good a team may be or not be. Like I said earlier, I'm not a believer in Wichita State or Drake really being in here, but Louisville was 1-6 in quad one games. Drake, I believe, had one quad one win just like they did. Wichita State had two. So, and that's pretty well, hard to quibble. And if that's it, they did a heck of a job, considering the only other one, what are you going to argue about, Belmont?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I looked around the bracket and I said, really, there may have been, I don't know, three things that caught my attention. They weren't anything that just completely, everyone should be yelling and screaming about. I didn't think Oklahoma State should have been a 4. I thought they should have been a 3. That's one seed line. I mean, it kind of is what it is. And then I didn't think Missouri should have been a 9. I thought that was too low for Missouri, given all their quality wins. I know people were up and down on them. They lost. They had some, bad losses along the way, but had a lot of good wins too. I thought that was too low for them. I thought Florida to 7. I don't know Florida. Listen, their season's been up and down, with everything with Keontae Johnson, and I think just for them to bounce back and do what they did is impressive enough. But I just didn't know that their resume supported a 7 seed. And I guess the only other one was Colgate. They're a hard one to place, and that's what you talk about. That's why I think the committee does deserve kind of a pat on the back for, like, what do you do with a Colgate team that's 14-1? Versus, some of these other teams like that. And I really thought, putting them at around a 14 made sense. If you looked at their net rankings and all that, I think they moved up to 7 in the net at one point. I think they may have finished 9 somewhere in there. So that's the kind of stuff I would look at. Actually, there is one more. Loyola Chicago is an 8. I think, unfortunately, is not great for Illinois, because I just think that they were very underseeded as an 8. But you know what? We have these same discussions every year about some of these teams, and it plays itself out in the NCAA tournament.
How about LSU as an 8?
Yeah, that was another one too. I thought that again, I would have, if you would asked me what order I'd have put the teams in, I'd have put Missouri in that threesome with Missouri, LSU, Florida. I would have went Missouri, LSU, Florida. It was the reverse, where it was Florida, LSU, Missouri, and that surprised me a bit. I think, and that's where I think I talked about Loyola, Chicago, and Illinois. If I'm Michigan, I don't want to see the LSU we saw this past weekend in the second round, because I think that's a bad draw. The thing is, though, I don't know if we're going to see that LSU, and that's the thing. If we don't see that LSU, they could just as easily lose to St. Bonaventure. But if we do see that LSU, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we see that LSU in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, essentially matching up again with Alabama. So
Blake, you give me that LSU Tigers offense with the Memphis Tigers defense, and I cut the nets down in about 4 Monday nights.
Yes, I'm telling you, it was, and LSU did play much better defensively than they have. And I think they pointed out that although LSU is just, at times you watch them and you shake your head when they play defense, I still think if you look at the numbers, like, they're one of the best in the country at 3-point field goal percentage defense. And so I think matchup-wise, that's something you have to look at with them. If they get those kind of scenarios to play out, they could be a team that advances, because LSU with the chip on its shoulder, look out, because they got four of the most talented players, in the SEC, and that's why I think I would still probably put their Big Four up against any Big Four pretty much throughout the country. I just think those guys are that good. So, LSU is an interesting team, I think, in this field.
If I were Michigan, I would not be happy that LSU is an 8 seed, and of course they're missing their best shooter, so that's trouble.
It's trouble, and I think Michigan's path is not ideal. I think if you had to ask me, I think Illinois has the toughest path because that Midwest is just it's a monster, I think, overall, especially in that top part of the bracket, like I talked about with Oklahoma State being in there. But I think Michigan's path to the Final Four is not great, especially with Florida State in there, too. I think Florida State's got a pretty good draw. I know Greensboro, good team, but I think Florida State versus either Colorado or Georgetown's a nice matchup for the Seminoles. And then, like you said, it could very well be LSU, Florida State. Then I think the bottom half of that bracket with Alabama, I actually like Alabama's path pretty good, too, because I think there could be some chaos with Texas and BYU and, the two traditional programs that were for no reason set up at all in the first four game with Michigan State and UCLA. I'm sure that wasn't a made for TV kind of decision at all.
Like I love that you said, win ball games. It is a zero-sum game. It's what I love about sports. It's not a debate society. We have a scoreboard. We have a winner. We have a defeated team. The defeated team can get them next year, but the winner gets to advance. A guy that just did not win enough, and it comes down to coaching. And I find a really cruel irony in that Archie Miller is unemployed today, but Sean Miller is not.
Yeah, I was going to point that out to you. That's I think that shows you the state of what we prefer and what we prioritize. The fact that Archie Miller is out of a job and he's still there, but it's as we know. Indiana's it's a different beast, and I think it's one of those programs now that I don't know if there's probably a comparison you can make. That really still sees itself as the top of the top. And, the results just haven't been to that level, and they want to get back to that level, sooner rather than later. And I think if you make that move, and this is what I always say about these kind of jobs, if you make that move, I think you probably have a pretty good idea of who you're going to be able to hire before you make it. And so for me, I think that's John Beilein. If I'm Indiana, I feel like that's probably a no-brainer type. I know the Brad Stevens thing is getting thrown out there. Look, if you throw a lot of money at Brad Stevens, when I want to go from the Celtics situation where there's obviously pressure on him there to that Indiana situation and get back to what being a figure that would not be hated in any way, shape, or form until about 5 years down the road if you're not winning enough games. Sure, it's a thought, but I feel like someone like John Beilein, I know Porter Mosier, someone else that probably is in the mix. I don't know if Scott Drew or someone makes that move. I don't think so. But if I'm Indiana, I'm going from the very top of the list and working my way down because I just feel like this is one where, man, you got to get this one right. If you're making a move, you got to get it right. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think happened at Indiana? I ask you both this. They've not been the same since Bobby Knight. Now, Mike Davis did get a carryover from the Knight Foundation. And Kelvin Sampson might have been able to do it, but we don't know. And then even Tom Crean couldn't get it done. This is the fifth coach, in 15 years. What is it that has changed about that Indiana job in a state that is rabid, like Kentucky, for basketball?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the state of recruiting's changed. I think the transfer situation has changed the game a lot, where I think you see teams that it's not the way it used to be, where you just have these programs that get the top recruits to stay there, 3 or 4 years, and you're able to build that up. Now it's a matter of you got to find the guys that can work the transfer portal, get the grad transfers, win right away. It's a completely different dynamic, and that's why I think it's the job. The view of the job, I'm sure, is different now than it used to be, but I know the fan base looks at it the same. But I think it requires a different skill set than maybe it used to be able to be at the top of the Big Ten. And by the way, you're still in the Big Ten, and we've seen what's happened, with the programs there and the strength of the league overall and all that kind of stuff. So it's a challenge, and that's why I think it's a pressure cooker too. So where if you're someone that takes that job, you better know going in that they're not treating it like it's 2015. They're treating it like it's the 80s and the 90s. Like it's that's the way it is. They want to win the championship every year, no different than Kentucky. But that's just I don't think it's realistic in this age unless you just complete the home run higher. And so I'm very interested to see kind of what direction they go in, because again, if you swing and miss a lot of times, and all of a sudden you find your way back down, and I don't know where you go from there. I don't think they're going to hire someone. Archie Miller was someone who came out of Dayton and like an up and coming type of guy. I feel like you have to do the opposite here, fair or not fair. Like I feel like you have to go with someone that's won before, that's been to the Final Four, maybe has national championship pedigree. I think you got to go that route now to kind of give the fans something different and make it feel like they're going to have to be able to expect something different now.
Like a lot of pressure in the Big Ten, and the pressure's on the Big Ten. It has had a wild ride over the last year. A lot of it they did to themselves with their commissioner and all that last summer over football. And his predecessor, Jim Delaney, once quoted as saying that we're really a basketball conference. Well, that basketball conference hadn't won it since 2000. Big Ten, let's see what you made of.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you, I looked at my bracket, and I don't know. Like, I don't know that I'm going to see a Big Ten team in the Final Four. Like, I think that's, it's hard to know, because I think if you're Iowa, great, but you're drawing the Zags, and I actually think the Zags have just a beautiful path to get to the Final Four, or at least the Elite Eight. Again, Iowa, I think we saw those two played a good game early in the season. Illinois, I think that Midwest region is just, it's tough. And I don't love their second-round matchup against Loyola or maybe even Georgia Tech. But Georgia Tech's been red hot. Then you're staring down Oklahoma State or Tennessee, teams like that. So I don't know. Like, it's, we talked about Michigan. I don't love Michigan's path to get there either. Now, could all of a sudden, if we see 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four, maybe we could. But it's going to be interesting, because I think that, unfortunately, Michigan's circumstances with Isaiah Livers out, that could be something that knocks them down a little bit. Ohio State, I think they have a nice, actually, little path maybe to get to Baylor, although I think Arkansas may have something to say about that. But it's going to be an interesting tournament for the Big Ten, because we always say it's about matchups, and I can't say that I completely love the matchups overall for these teams, kind of where they're slotted.
So, I obviously almost everybody's got Gonzaga in their Final Four. So their road would be Oklahoma, possibly Virginia or Creighton. I don't think Creighton can beat them. That is for sure. I think they've got the easiest way to the very end. Now, Kansas could be a factor a little bit later on, because that's the 3 seed. I don't think Iowa would match up, although it would be kind of fun to watch Timmy and Garza go at it. That would be a fun. I'm sorry. That the Dickinson would be going up against Timmy in that one. But if the 2 seed, no, it is. I'm sorry, it is. It's Luke Garza, the 2 seed. That would be Garza against Timmy. That would be a very intriguing one. Of the 2 seeds, who do you think has the best chance of upsetting a 1?
I think it's Alabama. And I know that kind of you look at that overall. I just think we saw the Alabama in the SEC tournament, to where if they play like that, they're good enough to beat Michigan. And again, I'm saying that honestly in the back of my mind, thinking I don't know that Michigan gets to that point. So I think Alabama, of the 2 seeds, has the nicest path. I don't know, in a Houston-Illinois matchup, I'm probably still favoring Illinois. In a Baylor-Ohio State matchup, I'm probably still favoring Baylor. In Gonzaga, Iowa, I'm favoring Gonzaga. So I think I would go with Alabama, just because I think they actually have a pretty nice path. Now, the thing about Bama, as we know, they're starting off with Rick Pitino. I think he'll have his team ready to play in Iona. But beyond that, I think they match up well with everyone else. If they're not making the 3, the thing about Bama is this year, they're a good defensive team, one of the best defensive teams in the country. They can kind of overcome that a bit. So I think we kind of saw what they're capable of in the SEC tournament. If they play like that, I think they can get to the Final Four. And
that's largely without the freshman, Josh Primo. It's Josh, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
without Josh Primo. All right, after Alabama, who's the next SEC team that can really make a run? Rick Barnes, finally, at Tennessee. I mean, they've had a lot of hopes on him, and it hadn't been a whole lot, or is it Eric Musselman in year 2 at Arkansas, or you talked about LSU earlier, or is it someone else?
Yeah, I think Arkansas is in a good spot. I really do. Everyone's talking about Colgate. I know they only have one loss, but I watched some of that championship game they played. I just think Arkansas's length and athleticism is going to overwhelm them. And I think Eric Musselman could use the fact that Colgate only has one loss to his credit to get his team and basically say, hey, you're playing a team that on the right side of the record, there's only one loss there. And no matter the circumstances, they've only lost one game all season. So I think use that to his advantage. And then I like their matchup really getting with Texas Tech and Utah State. This is not the Texas Tech team of a couple of years ago. They're still good, but I think Arkansas is just a better team in that spot. So I think Arkansas's got a decent path here. I don't love Florida's path. Certainly don't love Missouri's. I think they just got the short end of the stick here. Again, being placed in that 8-9, and not only that, you're getting placed with the Zags. LSU, we talked about it. I think LSU's really in a decent spot. If the LSU we think they can be comes out and plays Tennessee, I said it with Illinois. I just think that group of 8 with the 1-16, 8-9, 5-12 Tennessee there. Oklahoma State, Liberty. I just think there's so much room for chaos that I don't know that I trust Tennessee enough in that spot. I think they should beat Oregon State, but I don't know that I love that matchup they would have against Oklahoma State. So even with Tennessee as a 5, I still think probably Alabama and Arkansas are the 2 to bet on there.
What do you think of Houston's chances from the Midwest as the 2 seed?
Well, I think, and this is what I was talking about with Alabama, I think that if you're Alabama, you would have been drooling over the fact to get Clemson Rutgers as a 7-10. I think Houston has to feel the same way. Although Cleveland State, Dennis Gates, one of the top young coaches in the country, he will have no shortage of options. I think he'll be in the mix for the DePaul job that just came open. So maybe initially that's a game to keep an eye on. Is the 2-15s. I think of all the ones, maybe that's one to kind of look at. But beyond that, I think Morehead State could beat West Virginia. Morehead State's really good. That's one I would keep an eye on. San Diego State and Syracuse. I know some people thought Syracuse didn't even belong in the field. San Diego State's pretty good, but again, I don't think this is not the San Diego State we saw last year. So I think Houston's actually got a nice little path even to get to the Elite Eight. Beyond that, I think you're probably rooting for chaos at that point, hoping that Illinois doesn't come out of that top half, which could wind up being someone like Oklahoma State. So.
I'm in agreement with you on the 3-4s. If there's any matchup, I think Morehead State has the best chance of a 14 beating a 3. I think Houston is poised to get to the second weekend. I know Brett, you think Clemson is a really good team.
No, not a really good team. I'm just not as impressed with Houston this year of any other the previous 3 years for Houston. I thought the Rob Gray team at the end of 18 and the 2 teams in Coach Hardaway's first 2 years facing Kelvin Sampson in 19 and 20, and even this year they were better than Memphis, but they weren't as good as those other Houston teams.
Well, the only thing, if Grimes shoots the way he's shooting, that really does help that team a whole lot. What is your favorite Cinderella to maybe go a bit of a ways here?
Well, I think that probably the one I'm going to look at, I think UC Santa Barbara's in a decent spot as the 5-12. We always pick those. In the Big West, Joe Pasternak, who was on Sean Miller's staff at Arizona and luckily got out of there. It's a good team. They're very experienced. They just have a lot of upperclassmen, pretty much their entire upperclassmen on the rotation. They had a lot of guys that won a lot of games, and I think that's one where, if they were to get to Hassad and potentially, get a win against Virginia or Ohio, obviously I don't pick them against Gonzaga, but I think at least make it to the Sweet 16. Beyond that, I'm sticking with it, guys. I think if the LSU we saw this weekend in Nashville shows up, I think LSU can get to the Elite Eight, especially playing Alabama. I just think they're that talented. So those are a couple that I would probably look at. I would say another team that's in an interesting spot is USC as the 6th. Mm-hmm. Again, you're talking about teams that are going to have to match up with Gonzaga eventually, but I don't, this Kansas team, we've talked about all the situation with them, with the protocols and everything. This Kansas team.
Yep, I think Well, hate to say it, but I think we're having a little phone problem with Blake Lovell. But I think we got most of what we needed there. Good stuff for sure. He's really high, and that could happen. Alabama, LSU, in an Elite 8 game for the right to go to the Final Four.
They will be squared off at center court. How about the commissioner having to go down and intercede yesterday? And I would love to know what his conversations with athletics directors of both schools, with basketball operations people, and today with head coaches, that he had to get up and go down and intercede and get in the middle of a mid-court near fracas between LSU and Alabama. Particularly bad look. And I just can't envision, I can't imagine Mike Slive and Roy Kramer having to do that.
No. And it's not the first one in this post-conference in this postseason conference tournament mix. Look at Juwan Howard and Turgeon from Maryland. I mean,
that was in game though. That wasn't pregame.
Yeah, well, that's true. But both were pretty darn ugly, and both captured by cameras. That stuff. I don't remember anything like that between coaches. There have been bad scenes. I remember a Bobby Knight, Dale Brown scene.
I remember
with
Rick
a phone.
Barnes getting Dean Smith by the lapels one time at an ACC tournament, and he wasn't going to be preached to by sanctimonious Dean.
I don't remember that one.
He was at Clemson, and he got him right by the lapels and said, "You're not preaching to me." And Dean Smith preached to everybody he encountered.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, that was exactly what Turgeon was saying to Howard, "Don't talk to me," or whatever it was. What was the essence of the brouhaha yesterday?
On Saturday, or
the LSU Alabama.
Yeah, it was yesterday between LSU and Alabama. Just Dave, here's what I think. I think there are too many support staff people. There are too many unnecessary people on sidelines, on basketball benches, near the court, and a lot of the yapping starts with an ops guy that knew ops guy. One of the particulars, not ops guy, but an assistant coach at LSU, Bill Armstrong, who was at Ole Miss and was notably involved in the incident in Cincinnati with Andy Kennedy, and he never shuts up.
Well, you make a point. The entourages, or however you want to call it, and they all have places. They've got jobs. They're analysts of some kind, or video breakdown guys, or whatever their chores may be. They've got a lot of them, okay? But the amount of staff that now is on the floor that sits behind the bench, because you're only allowed so many on the front side. And by the way, they limit those chairs at the NCAA tournament, so you can't have everybody you normally have. It has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. I think you're spot on with that. I can tell you who's spot on that is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, Genesis of Olive Branch. They have a product. Those Hyundais voted safest car, tied in the world last year with another company. Product and technology so good they take care of you. Genesis has the same way, and we saw the safety of the new SUV a couple of weeks ago. And that product is so durable, too, that every new Hyundai, every new Genesis gets a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. They believe in the product. That's why the dealership sells so many certified pre-owns. Ray Melton's department, 14 years in a row, is the number one selling certified pre-owned car dealer in all of the Memphis area. It's partially because those cars last forever. And they take care of you, too. That's the other thing about the philosophy of Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. They've been together 13 years. They know exactly what's important, and they want to serve you. And it begins with a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package on the house. They want to take care of your car. They want to take care of you. That's the beauty of Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We'll come back and talk a little bit about the National Invitation Tournament. That comes your way in a minute.
Same great shows.
We welcome you back to Sports 56 Middays.
What's up? It's Sports 56 Happy Hour.
A new spot on the FM dial. Check out Sports 56 on our new FM home at 98.5.
First Bank is here to help you, whether you're a business looking for a loan to expand or refinance an existing one, a homeowner looking for a mortgage or home equity line, a consumer wanting to finance your dream car, or wanting a competitive rate on your CD deposits. Let First Bank try to handle your banking needs. Stop into one of First Bank's 3 local branches today. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or check them out online at firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, folks. Good news from the Chevy Sheriff for truck buyers. It's Chevy Truck Month at the Sunrise Chevy Ranch. Rebates up to $7,500 and discounts high as $10,000. Bankrupt, bad credit, it's okay. Sunrise specializes in secondary financing. Need a good used truck? Remember, Sunrise Chevy specializes in used cars and trucks under $15,000. Chevy trucks cost less at the Sunrise Chevy Ranch, partner. Find new roads to 385 in Houston Levy and Collierville. Check out the all-new Sunrise Truck Corral. Huge selection of nothing but trucks. All makes, all models, all prices, all trucks, all the time. Next to Sunrise Wolf Chase.
Now this is something to get excited about. 21 Days of Beauty is happening now at Ulta Beauty. Get ready to feel fresh, new, and yeah, like you again. Give your routine a glow up with daily beauty steals of 50% off the must-haves from brands like Too Faced and First Aid Beauty. And explore the newest arrivals from brands like Tarte and Benefit. Discover endless ways to feel like your best self. Shop in-store, online, or try curbside pickup today. Hurry! This event ends April 3rd. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Hey, if you're hungry for great Mexican food for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, got it. La Guadalupana, La Guadalupana, Guadalupana. Choose from tacos, burritos, enchiladas, sizzling shrimp, beef or chicken fajitas, and even a Cuban sandwich filled with Mexican sausage, chicken, ham, steak, jalapenos, avocado. Add a nice cold beer to your super nachos. Top with melted cheese, beans, sour cream, guacamole, tomato, and jalapenos. Great prices, generous portions, great service at 3 locations, Summer Avenue, Cordova Road in Winchester, La Guadalupana.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 115 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. So easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. Stock up heavy on all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Halfway home in our final hour. It's brought to you by Conway. Springtime is when tree roots start growing. Many of them can find their way right into your sewer line. So if you've got your home main sewer line backed up, maybe you got multiple plumbing fixtures backing up, call the rooter experts at Conway for the $99 main drain opening special. That is also involving accessible cleanout. So really what they do is they come out and they have this incredible state-of-the-art Rooter Vision camera system. They check your whole system. If it's drained, they clear it out. And if it gets clogged again within a year, they will come back out again. They do all of this, the clean out, the inspection, and they'll come back included in the price, $99. Trust the Rooter experts at Conway for all your drain and sewer needs. 384-3511. That's the number for the Mid-South Premier Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electric, and your neighborhood Rooter experts. That's Conway Services. Nobody loves being in the NIT because it means you didn't make your goal of getting to the NCAA tournament. Some teams, especially young teams, that really want to play more together and don't want the season to end. This has been a crazy COVID year, so who the heck knows where everybody's head is at. Those younger teams usually play hard. They want to win. Some of these teams, for them, they don't really care. They're just extra time. Maybe you don't like each other. I have no idea about any of these teams, about any of the number one seeds. I know St. Louis is disappointed. They thought they were going to go. They're a 1 seed. There was a period of time where they were a lock to go to the NCAA tournament. Then they got hit by COVID. They were paused. I don't know what their attitude is. I know you're closer to the football team than you are the basketball team, but what is your sense of Ole Miss? Are they raring to go in the NIT?
I can't imagine anybody raring to go in it, and you're going to have to bring your own motivation because it's going to be played not unlike the NCAA tournament in Indianapolis in one of the just most antiseptic settings ever. It's going to be like games being played in a hospital room. There will be no fans. I think that will hurt the quality of play in the NIT, and I think it will hurt the darling Cinderella upset team in the NCAA tournament for this reason. We know, Dave, going to these games, when that team that Morehead State is mounting that charge and it's 2.5 minutes to play and they've hit a 3 to cut it to 2 and they're applying the pressure on the defense on West Virginia. Well, if it's a normal year, then that arena turns on West Virginia. They turn on the better seed, and everybody in there for that day is Sister Jean at Loyola or Morehead State or Abilene Christian against Texas, and you're not going to have that. You're going to have name, rank, serial number, and that's why I think it will largely be chalky and largely uninspired and almost unwatchable play in the NIT.
I know that one of the sites is the Comerica Center, and that is where it's going to end, which is really, it's not the Star, which I thought it was going to be. That is where the CUSA basketball tournament was, which is the Cowboys training facility. This is actually a hockey center. I think it's where the Dallas Stars practice. And I don't know much about it. And then the other place, and this is where Memphis will play the first game, it's going to be in Denton at North Texas. I'm not sure if they're allowing any fans in or not.
Texas is open, but yeah. I just don't see the market fascination with it. I think you could probably do that proverbial a man on the street sports report and ask people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, are you aware the NIT's in town?
Well, the SMU who's in it as a 3 seed in Memphis's bracket. I'm amazed they put it in Memphis's side, but they would
probably could go to SMU's campus and ask, "Are you aware that the NIT's in town?"
I got a feeling they would be aware, but they may be the only ones because we know Dallas a big town with a lot of different pro teams and everything else. It is odd that they put SMU in that thing. I don't know about that. I thought there were going to be some fans in Indy.
Well, it may be some, but it won't be the throng that we normally would have when that building just rises up against the better seed, the bigger name, the bigger budget, and that's what we love about those first 2 days. We love those upsets those days, and then it settles into bigger names and better teams. And I find it ironic that, Dick Vitale just saw the institutional need to be that champion of the little guy that he always is, and you couldn't make him go cover a game at Belmont. But this year, the number 1 team in the tournament is a classic little guy.
In the NCAA you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, Gonzaga is. It's nice to see somebody that's not in the Power 5 that is the number 1 overall seed in 26-0. And look, it's hard to be 26-0. I don't care who you've played, and they try to play early against good teams. They're supposed to play Baylor. If you'll recall, Baylor wasn't able to make it because of their COVID issues. But Gonzaga, Mark Few tries to play good games. I give him all the credit in the world, and we know how hard it is to go perfect. Because the last team to do it was 76.
Or
76.
Indiana 32-0 in 76. And that was a Final Four that Rutgers was in. They were undefeated also in that Final Four that included Michigan that got to the final game with Phil Hubbard and Coach Gene Bartow in his first year at UCLA with the other team.
As far as the Memphis first one, and the other reason that I know some people are a little down on the NIT is because of where it's being played. We just mentioned you're going to be in a hockey arena for your championship and your semifinal and your consolation game. I think even I think everything after the first round is going to be played at this Comerica Center, which is basically a hockey arena. It's not going to be in New York, but I think I figured out why it's not going to be in New York City, and that is every team has to stay once they get there until they lose. And the expense of staying all those teams in New York City on the NIT because they pay it, that'd have been too much money. That's why they put it in Frisco and in Denton.
Yeah, and it just really disappointing for in third year for Penny Hardaway to not be in the NCAA tournament again. And you look at two coaches very much with the biography and the resume of his. Juwan Howard at his alma mater, beloved player, longtime NBA player, never been a head coach at any level. I don't think at all, not even as much as Penny Hardaway had been, and the year he's having. And then Patrick Ewing at Georgetown, same thing, had never been a head coach, lifer as an assistant, and they've already made it to an NCAA tournament, and Penny Hardaway hadn't. I was watching games this weekend. I was thinking, on the day Penny Hardaway was hired, it was just, and it has been a galaxy of stars signed. But what if the wrong ones were signed? And I know they were recruiting these players, but I see Trendon Watford, I see Greg Brown, I see Moses Moody. They're all in the NCAA tournament, and the Tigers aren't.
No, that is true. You mentioned Patrick Ewing and Georgetown, and Patrick, that was a funny little. I don't know if it was a put on or what he did the other day about not being recognized in Madison Square Garden. But that run that he made, and they're an 8 seed in that tournament, and what they did to Villanova at the end, I mean, they just destroyed them in that game. I was
then
stunned.
What they did to Creighton in the finals was even more of a blowout. But I look across kind of all the some of the tender spots for Tigers fans, and you got to look up and see a tournament that Ole Miss is still ahead of you as one of the teams in waiting. Yeah. Arkansas's in, Tennessee's in, Josh is in, and for those people that want to make so much fun of Tubby Smith and so much fun of Connor Vanover and calling him Van Conover, well, Connor Vanover is going to the NCAA tournament.
Yep, and he turned out to be a pretty good player. If anybody's upset that Ole Miss is ahead of Memphis, well, they shouldn't be, because Ole Miss has 3 quad 1 wins, and Memphis,
but some ugly losses. Losing to really bad Wichita State and even worse Vanderbilt.
And Memphis has a couple of bad losses in their own right, and in particular twice to Tulsa. There's just no reason they should have lost twice to Tulsa, for that matter, even one time, but certainly not 2 times.
I know they didn't have DeAndre Williams, but the Auburn game, Auburn didn't have Sharif Cooper. Auburn also lost in that same stretch without Sharif Cooper to UCF. The American was 3-6 this year against the SEC.
There were some. UCF beat Auburn, right? Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you just said? Yeah,
that's one of the 3 wins.
You know who else
UCF,
they beat?
Wichita State over Ole Miss, and Houston over South Carolina. And it sounds like Crazy Frank's out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, meeting with AD.
Wow. Well, you know who else UCF beat this year? I don't know how. Florida State. They beat Florida State and Auburn this year, UCF.
I don't either, because Johnny looks as disengaged and uncaring and uninto it as anybody I've ever seen coaching.
Yeah, I think he's just a laid-back kind of a guy. That's his style. I know some people have said it looks like Clyde Drexler. I don't think it's quite that, but no, it did. But look, he got their very first 2 years ago. Their very first at-large NCAA position. They almost beat Duke. So he's done something. But this year was after beating Auburn and UC and Florida State, and then just falling apart in the league play. I wish I could tell you the reason for that, but I can't. I can tell you this: This portion of the show is brought to you by Supercuts. And Supercuts, you know, they are thriving. 15 locations in Memphis. Go to supercuts.com to find the nearest one to you. And if you are still worried, and you should be very aware about what's going on with COVID, they still have the wonderful Safe Salon commitment in place. That was a partnership with top infectious disease doctors who put it together to maximize safety and distancing and sanitization in all the salons so that when you're ready for your haircut, and we all are now, you're going to be safe when you walk into any of those 15 Memphis area Supercut locations. That was important to Rob Check. It's his family that owns all 15, and they will take care of you in many, many ways. And the best part about Supercuts, when you walk out, you're going to look good. If you'd like to learn more about that Safe Salon commitment or to make the appointment, go to supercuts.com. We'll take a break, our final one of this Monday. When we return, it will be Taco Bell crunch time.
Do you know who I am?
Who are you?
I'm Superfly TNT.
Johnny Radio.
Where do you want to be? 1 to 3? Right here with me. Sports 56, 98.5, 96.1 FM, Monday through Friday. This is Sports 56 Happy Hour, your good buddy Johnny Radio.
Hi, I'm Hayden Moore, General Manager of the all-new Wolf Chase Hyundai. Don't miss the Hyundai Spring Upgrade Sales Event. For the first time ever, get 0% APR for 60 months on the all-new 2021 Elantra. Drive with Hyundai Assurance, America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Visit wolfchasehyundai.com. With approved credit, $1,667 per month for every $1,000 finance. Example down payment 10%. Down payment will vary based on credit rating. Offer ends 4/12/21.
Mid-South Hobbies has your favorite model airplanes, boats, race cars, and trains to build. With brands you know like Lionel, LGB, and a large selection of Traxxas radio-controlled trucks, cars, and boats. Mid-South Hobbies has all the accessories to make them complete, with thousands of paint colors to make them shine. Reach the sky with rockets and kites, or reach deep into your imagination with action figures, comic book superheroes, and fantasy quest games. Get passionate about your hobby at Mid-South Hobbies. 4862 Summer Avenue.
There's nothing worse than overhype, so we won't go overboard telling you how Taco Bell's Quesalupa is back with its cheese stuffed shell. We'll skip the Quesalupa air shows and making a statue in honor of how there's cheese in every bite. Marvelous. And we won't send one to the moon.
Quesalupa has landed.
Instead, we'll pass on all the fanfare and just tell you Taco Bell's Quesalupa has returned, and we think you'll like it. At participating locations for a limited time.
Frontier Western Store in Olive Branch is ready for spring. Stop by the store today and you'll find a wide assortment of goods. There's tons of Carhartt jeans, shirts, caps, and beanies, as well as this year's brand new spring line. Also, have you checked out Frontier Women's Boutique lately? It's loaded with new styles and colors and current trends of tops, tunics, skirts, and dresses. New arrivals every day. Mini shirts are just $14.99, available small to 3X. While you're there, browse Frontier's world-famous boot showroom. Shop thousands of boots that are in stock, ready to try on and take home. Shop at a local store with excellent local service. With their extensive selection of dress and work boots, you're sure to find your next favorite pair. Frontier receives new styles and restocks daily from all the largest boot makers. Dan Post, Durango, Rocky, Ariat, and many more. Available in men's, women's, or children's. Outfit the entire family. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales.
Here once again
are Dave Voloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, that we hit fame. Too easy with the deal, we get insane.
Crunch time coming your way in a minute. This final portion of our program is brought to you by Sheldon, Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf. When you want the job done, you call Sheldon, and I promise you things will happen. The problem is Sheldon and Kelly Erb have been selling houses. As soon as I mentioned them on the air, they had one in Midtown that was listed on a Monday. It sold on a Saturday, had 2 offers. This time they have 2 in East Memphis coming in the next couple of weeks. One is near Colonial and Shady Grove on an acre lot for $499,900. And another's in a prime gated area. That is going for $525,000. And according to Sheldon, it is beyond perfection. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling from downtown to Germantown or beyond, please talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers, but make sure that Shell Dunn and Kelly Erb are also in that grouping. Their experience and that strategic marketing program, it sets them apart from the other brokers, just like hearing your home here like I did with those other examples. You can reach either one of them at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. That's memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546. Shell Dunn gets the job done. It's now officially Taco Bell crunch time.
Crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
Boop!
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
All 1, all 2, all 3, take.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Dave, I learned today, I learned over the weekend, I've learned all college basketball season, that moment in every game that LSU is on television where the announcers, regardless of the network, SEC or no, they feel like they are compelled to kind of defend LSU, and especially Will Wade's coaching bona fides against all the accusations against Will Wade and now the LSU athletics department. Boy, they are quick to forgive and forget for some.
Well, they better convince the IARP or whatever, because that's the group that has to be swayed. I am with you. They've got a lot of talent there, though. There are some who think LSU is the most talented team in the SEC, and they look pretty good this weekend, but last I looked, it was Nate Oates in Alabama that won that tournament. I mentioned earlier, we learned today that UConn's Gino Auriemma has tested positive for COVID-19. They are now saying officially he is out for at least the first game. Now, that's a 1 UConn, and I think they're the number 1 overall 1 against a 16, so he'll beat them by 80 without him. Doesn't really matter, but that is something to watch. And Iowa today just extended Fran McCaffrey's contract through 2028. Luka Garza gave him 4 good years, that's for sure. It'll be a little different without him, but I got a feeling McCaffrey's a pretty good coach. He's got financial security now for the rest of his life.
Did you catch, here's what I could have done without, not our friend David Cobb, love having him, but the point he made about Kentucky fans already salivating about Nate Oates. I'm going to call it, so I could do without that. That's how arrogant they are, and they think we can hire anybody we want. In my life, well, from Joe Hall on, when they've had to hire a coach to replace Joe Hall, Eddie Sutton wasn't close to the first choice. Lute Olson was. He passed on it. Gene Bartow was involved. He passed on it. They did land their whale when they got Rick Pitino, and they did land their whale when they got John Calipari. But Tubby wasn't first choice, and Billy Gillespie sure wasn't first choice. I'm going to call it now. Whenever John Calipari leaves, it will be, oh, really? Kentucky hired that guy instead of, oh, wow, they hired fill in the blank. It'll be less than spectacular because you're following that.
I'm going to say this. He's got a lifetime contract. If he gets to 65, he gets millions per year guaranteed. The buyout, I understand, for John to leave early before that is $52 million. Now, I know they got a lot of money in that program. Deep pockets. $52 million, that's a lot of money.
How hard one, Dave? What does John love more, Bradley or cash?
Bradley by a nose. I learned I could have done without this story. This is kind of sad for me. Sister Jean. That's Jean Dolores Schmidt.
Oh, yeah. I showed you my picture with her.
Right. Most prominent fan. You know how old she is now?
Jean is, like I know her. Sister Jean is, I'm going to say, 96.
101.
Dang!
She's 101. She's now wheelchair bound. She
was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago.
She wants to go to the game. Now we know that game with Georgia
get her
Tech,
there.
4 o'clock at Hinkle Fieldhouse. She's fully vaccinated.
Let her go then.
And she's tested negative, but they're saying she, by the way, has been tested 9.
What's the downside?
She's been tested 30 times. She's had both her shots. And because they got a restriction on the number of people at games and the size of travel parties.
Get Jean in.
I know. I'm with you. There should be an absolute movement to get Sister Jean to that game.
She was having so much fun in San Antonio 3 years ago, 2018, yeah, when I was there when my buddy Ben Richardson was on that team. Keeping a close eye tonight on testing, protocols, teams in waiting, and you better be really careful because you can play with just 5 guys.
Right.
There's the real chance we're out there that something resembles a frat team for somebody. Some walk-on cats.
Well, you're keeping an eye on. You're going to keep an eye on them until tomorrow night because that's the last time. Once it's Tuesday night, all 4 of those teams in waiting, they're released. So they're going to the NIT, if there's any other movement there after Tuesday night, tomorrow night, and I can't remember exactly what time it is. After that, it's a forfeit, and the team you're playing moves on.
Unreal. We're going to keep an eye on the Grizzlies against Phoenix tonight. Number 2 seed Phoenix in the West. Next gen is now for Phoenix, and Showtime in downtown San Francisco tonight. Lakers against Dubs, and both really need a win.
They both do. You got to feel the Lakers got to start playing. You can't just turn it on, can you? There's plenty of time. I know we're really halfway, but
yeah, and I'm thinking March, and it's really not March with their schedule.
No,
I know it is. I went Yogi there, but
but it is. We want to thank our good friends who were involved in this: David Cobb from CBS and Blake Lovell from Blue Ribbon Magazine. We'll be here same time tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. You've heard me talk about how we offer the best products, the best warranties, and the best services for years. Now let's talk about pricing. Pricing should never be the only reason you hire a contractor, but in today's world, pricing is always a consideration. So we suggest you get 2 or 3 estimates for your roof replacement from a reputable, licensed, and insured company, and then give us a call. If we can't beat your best price for a comparable roof system by more than $100, we'll give you $100. It's that simple. We are so sure we can offer you the best price, beating all other qualified companies, we will hand you $100 if we can't, and thank you for the opportunity. So give us a call. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Make $100? Fiveash Roof Services, a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Fiveash Roof Services, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I'm Kelly Erb. Sheldon Rosengarten and I are both with Mark Spensdorf Realtors, and our clients often ask us how we are finding the real estate market right now.
Kelly, we've been in a great market environment for quite a while. If someone hadn't sold their home by now with a low inventory and high activity level, there have to be issues that need to be addressed.
Correct. Usually before we go on the market, we advise people on preparation, presentation, and proper pricing. With that and our highly successful strategic marketing program with the Shell Bucks option, our clients' odds of selling their home are increased quicker and at a better price.
Yes, that is why we also suggest that people talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure and call us. It can mean the difference in whether they sit on the market or sell. That's why people often say, when you want the job done, call Shell Done.
That's right. You can reach Sheldon Rosengarten or me at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now, 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis.